Good morning and welcome to Gärdet here in the heart of the Swedish capital in Stockholm. You join us here on this late and very windy late summer morning with about a half an hour to go before the start of the Nordic Championship Tough Viking Obstacle Race. To win this race creates impressive endurance and explosive energy as it mixes trail running with obstacles, and a sharp mind is needed too to manage the course. The 15-kilometer course contains natural obstacles, but it also contains some very, very evil ones designed by our course designers. Obstacle racing, of course, is one of the fastest growing sports, and not least here in the Nordic region. Today we'll have about 4,000 competitors who will take on this course behind us, watched by some 30,000 spectators here at Gärdet and thousands more around the world. So what can our competitors expect when they leave the safety of the starting gate? With me this morning is Sophie Bellis, who has previously taken part in the race, and she's going to help us out when it comes to understanding what is necessary to be a tough Viking in 2015. Sophie, you're very welcome here this morning. Tell me, what are the competitors over here at the starting gate? What are they feeling at this moment?
I think they're really stressed, but they are also extremely excited because they've been training to this in such a long time now. So it's a race day. They're excited. It's race day. The excitement is building here. We can see some of the competitors walking around. Indeed, about an hour ago, I had a look around the course, and there were some big, strong guys and girls having a look at the obstacles that are facing them here this morning. I keep trying to use the Swedish word for obstacles, but of course we're broadcasting in English because this is the Nordic Championship. We have viewers in Norway, Denmark, Finland, and indeed in Russia. I think we have some competitors here today as well. Sophie, we're going to talk a little bit more about the training. You've worked the course as a personal trainer. The course is 15 kilometers long, ladies and gentlemen. This is the daddy of them all. The Nordic Championship is the biggest race going. The previous race in Hårda Parken here in Stockholm was only 8 kilometers, so this is almost twice as long. How would you train for a race like that if you're taking part? I would be very varied in my training. I would do strength, I would do cardio, I would do balance, and I would do CrossFit, I would do swimming. This is really an all-around body race, I'd say.
It's a very eclectic mix indeed. We drove around the course with the race director yesterday, and there's a lot of running. There's 30 obstacles in total, I think, over 15 kilometers. So those of you who are good at maths in school will have worked out that's an average of 400 or 500 meters between each obstacle. But they demand very different things because you're running in the forest, and then all of a sudden you're climbing, you're jumping, you're crawling. How do you get that mix right between the endurance training for the running and then the raw strength needed for the obstacles?
Isn't everyone searching for perfection? I mean, that's what every CrossFit elite wants to achieve, to be varied in every single part of, the 9 elements of fitness. So, I mean, the winner takes it all, I guess.
That's the way it's going to be here. We're going to follow the elite men's and the elite ladies groups later on this morning. You're going to be seeing the absolute top athletes in this sport in the Nordic region and beyond. But we were talking a little bit earlier on about training, and I was saying to you, today, of course, it's the end of August. It's a wonderful summer's day, if a little bit windy here in Stockholm. When would you have started training for a race like this?
I'd say you need to prepare at least 6 months. I'd say for myself a year, but 6 months, and start to do these varied things. Like, I mean, maybe you run 2 times a week, maybe you do strength 2 times a week, and maybe you do some CrossFit, you do the swimming, and also maybe the mental part also. Like, you have maybe go out and do a swim in the lake when it's winter time just to get the sensation, I'd say.
I don't think you're going to be seeing me competing here last year if we're going to be swimming in lakes in the winter time in preparation, of course. But another thing we need to talk about is it's very important to have fuel for the body for this long race, and of course it demands an awful lot, not just mentally but also physically. What would you be eating on a morning like this morning before attacking this course?
I wouldn't change my diet from just because of this, but I say for myself I would have a lot of quark, maybe different tastes, like different flavors.
This is like the cottage cheese kind of thing.
Yeah, it's extremely popular in Sweden right now.
Yep.
Always selling out. But maybe mostly some yogurt, juice, coffee, whatever you're having on a regular basis, but more protein, more carbs, especially carbs for the brain, because this takes a lot of thinking to achieve this race.
And is it worth this thing of, like, marathon runners, you'll find them carb loading the day before the event. Would you sit down with like 2 pizzas and a 2-liter bottle of some sort of cola or something the day before?
I definitely would indulge myself in some ice cream and some chips, but just because you're burning so much energy while you're doing this. So, I mean, when else can you? I do it before and after, but that's more on me, I guess.
I'm just thinking the local pizzeria here at Gärdet in the middle of Stockholm is going to be very busy after that tip there from Sophie Willis. If we talk a little bit about course management, because as you say, the mental part is almost as big as the physical part. The body will do what the body will do, but there must be a tendency to go, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. How do you keep going around a course like this?
You just have to imagine the goal in front of you, the electricity. No, I'm kidding. You just have to imagine that this is a very short time period that you're doing this, and you have to be strong in mind. And I mean, once you're done, that sensation that you feel, you can live on that. At least me, I can live for it, like 3-4 weeks afterwards, and just feel that, oh my God, I'm the king or the queen of the world. So that's what you have to have in mind all the time. So,
and do you get sort of an adrenaline kick when you're going around the course here and you come up against a particularly tough obstacle? And is that what carries you on to the next one?
Of course, because you are so tired physically that you really have to keep going in your mindset that this will, that will push you through and do,
Okay, pretend that there aren't thousands of people watching and 30,000 people here at Gärdet. Did you ever feel like giving up on the course?
No, never. No, never.
2 pizzas the day before and never give up.
No, never give up.
We're going to go through the obstacles now. We're going to have a little look at the course here. If we could bring up the map there, please. This is very, very tough, ladies and gentlemen. As I say, this is the daddy of them all, the Nordic Championship in obstacle racing, the Tough Viking, taking place here at Gärdet today. And I got to say, I love the first obstacle. The first obstacle is very, very simple. It's 20 American football players, and it's called Pain, and they're here to welcome you. They're big, they're mean, they don't hit clean, and you're only out of the starting gate when they hit you, Sophie. I heard they weren't too nice to you the first year.
No, they weren't. At Hagaparken last year, I thought they would go nice on me because I'm a female, of course. No way. They just came pushing me. Two, 3 guys, same time. I was doing this. It just fell on my head, and that was like 2 seconds in the race. So good start, really hard start.
Now these guys are very nice when they're off the field, when they're not taking part here in the Tough Viking or American football games. Indeed, they were here earlier on looking for food, because these guys are loaded up on carbs as well. And there's going to be 4,000 competitors, and these 20 guys are going to have the time of their lives knocking them all down today. That's right out the gate. You'll see the start here at 10 o'clock. That's the first obstacle that you'll see here. The next obstacle, I mean, it doesn't really get any easier from there. It starts out tough and it gets even tougher here at the Tough Viking. The red bed over and under is a major, major physical challenge.
Yeah, really is.
Tell me when you come up against that, it seemed to me that it was just a little bit unfair, particularly on the ladies when you think of the physical size there. The red bed over and under, some of the obstacles are quite high, and this one, it is, as the name says, you've got to go over and then under. How does that work?
But this is not so high. I mean, it's 1.5 meters high in the, where you're climbing over. But no, this is more like a burpee obstacle. So if you've done your burpees, this will be an easy one. It's a lot of agility because you have to think quick. It's under, over, and you really want to do it fast so you don't clog anywhere for the other runners.
The starting groups this morning, ladies and gentlemen, 4,000 athletes, and we cannot let them all out on this field together. So they're broken up into groups of about 150 in each run. So they start, then there's a 10-minute break, and as Sophie says, we don't want clogging up on the course. I can imagine how that must feel as well. If you're the only person who can't get over this thing and everybody else is running past you, go, well, what's she doing right there?
I do think everyone can manage the red bet over-under.
So if there is a sort of an easy obstacle on the course, that's the one to start with. The next one, we're in a place called Gärdet here, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who don't know Stockholm, this was actually an old sort of military field where the Swedish military used to come to train and to practice in the 16th and 17th century. And the strong links between the Tough Viking race and the old military culture here in Sweden. Indeed, we have the Coast Rangers boat down here. It's one of the final obstacles that the competitors will go through before they reach the finish line here behind me. And there are an awful lot of military-related exercises. So things that you will have seen on the Discovery Channel when it comes to training the elite special forces of the world. You'll find a lot of them are part of our race here today. None more so than running through 1,000 tyres that we have laid out in the course here. How hard is that?
I'm just laughing. It's so hard because, I mean, you've been smashed down, you're doing the over-unders part, and now you really have to think where you put your feet 1,000 times.
1,000 times, that's the thing. Now, these are sort of hard tractor tires. There's wire rims on the inside, so if you put your foot down the wrong way, it's going to get a bark up the back of your shin or something like that. But it's also not a normal step. It's slightly longer than a normal step. How do you keep your concentration? Would you choose to go at the side? Would you choose to go down the middle? How would you attack it?
I would just attack it straight forward. Just do it and try to yeah, really watch where I put my feet and be wide-legged, I guess.
Yeah.
And trying to jump, a bit like Bambi. high knees all the time.
High knees all the time through that. That's an interesting tactic, because I was thinking that there might be a tendency to try to go through it too quick, because it kind of looks simple, but it's only when you get to the very start of it you go, maybe it's not that simple after all.
No, it looks very simple. You might have a laugh before and then you cry afterwards.
Well, you can cry all the way to the next obstacle there, ladies and gentlemen, which is brought to you by Mini, and that is the Mini Run Through Fire that we have right there. Now, it's pretty much exactly as it says on the tin there. What we have are hay bales that are on fire that the competitors have to run through the middle of. Sophie, what's it like meeting that after the first 2 or 3 obstacles?
Yeah, it's like going into a house on fire. It's really smoky, it's really hot, it's hard to breathe. You might panic a bit because you have your breath in your throat.
Yeah.
But just do it. That's all I can say.
You literally just got to run through the whole thing.
Yeah.
I will reassure our viewers watching there at home, you're probably reading your morning newspaper, eating your yogurt and muesli and considering taking part next year. But safety and security is always a priority here. Just here behind me we have several tents where any of the athletes who pick up even the smallest injuries will be looked after. And of course at obstacles like that we have fire extinguishers on standby, and indeed the Swedish military are here to help us out today. That looks like a tough obstacle, but it's actually that's more a mental one really than a physical one, right?
Of course.
There's no
is.
major physical challenge there.
Exactly. It's no harm in it except for the mental part, because it's who wants to run through fire? I mean, who does that?
I think it looks like about the only obstacle that I would manage on the first go here, but let's not get into that right now. When they get through that, the next thing that's up on the course there are the steel walls, which are brought to you by Big Bag. Big Bag is a company that takes care of your construction waste. So if you're doing any sort of major building project, you fill the bags, you leave them on the side of the street, they come and pick them up. And it looks really, really good because they have their containers there, plus they have their bags filled with debris, which you use to climb into the containers. The thing about the containers is there's no roof on them, there's no lid on them, so you got to go down and up again. Is this kind of like the red bet over and under, except bigger?
Oh, it's so tough. I have 3-4 other obstacles which I really do not prefer, and this is one of them. Because once you've done it 2 times, you're really tired in your arms, and you really scratch your arms, because, it's containers.
Yeah.
And then you really have to make people help you to get over and under, especially with the bags. It's a tough one. You don't think it's tough, but it is. Extremely tough.
Of course, Sophie mentioned there the spirit of cooperation that we have here. You will get people who help each other out on the way round. But Sophie, we're going to be following the elite groups, and we're not really expecting to see the competitors help each other out so much. So
no.
That's one of those things. You can also compete in teams here at the Nordic Championships at the Tough Viking. The aggregate time of the 4 best people in the team will become the time overall there, so they can work together on that one. We're going to have a word with a very special gentleman very shortly. But before that, we have the first of the really natural obstacles here, the rock, which is basically a very, very steep hill, a rock that has to be run up and then down the other side.
Yeah.
How important is it, these natural elements that we have here at Gärdet, when they're involved?
How important they are.
Yeah, is it enjoyable to sort of get out into nature and to run around in this way and to sort of take on Mother Nature as you go around?
If you really want to enjoy, I guess you should take a walk instead. But going up on this amazing hill and then to go down again and then maybe up again. It's of course the environment is nice, but it's still you don't really have time to think about the birds and
everything else like that.
No.
This is a very interesting place when it comes to sports, ladies and gentlemen, because here, way off to my left here at Gärdet, there's a very sort of sporting culture here in general. There's an American football pitch there. I've seen people playing tag rugby there. As we drove the course yesterday, there's an awful lot of horses out here. So there's people out trotting on horses. I'm just wondering if their day is going to be destroyed by finding us here. Enough about Mother Nature and how we'll take her on. There's a very unnatural thing that comes after the rock climb there, and that's the tyre flipping. We have tractor tyres that weigh 250 kilograms, and each competitor has to flip them once. Now, I weigh about 90. I know the camera adds about 2 or 3 kilograms on top of that, so we'll say 95. It's basically 2.5 times my body weight that you're trying to flip. Now, again, I don't want to make an issue of the fact that the female competitors are going to have a tough time, but that's going to be tough for anybody to flip 250 kilos.
I really hope the athletes and the real athletes that they help each other here, because this is really hard, and you need to be a few people to manage it, I think, or at least I would have needed some help.
Just in terms of the general sort of technique that you're going to be using here,
Yeah.
as you bend down to pick, are you trying to pick up the turf on the inside or the outside?
No, the outside. It's more like a deadlift,
Yep.
if you know, marklift
Yep.
på svenska,
Yep.
I'd say. So you really have to watch your back, and you really have to use your legs, the backside of your legs.
Your hamstrings, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. So you got to get down
Yeah.
low and pick
Exactly.
that thing up there.
I'm not going to show you now, but yeah.
We can't duck down behind us.
Google deadlift.
Google deadlift and indeed tractor tire flipping.
Yeah,
It's
but using another type of grip.
another type of grip.
Yeah.
We'll take one more before we ask Mats Jakobsson to join us here. Barbed wire, another classic military drill here. We're talking about a combat crawl. It's 15 meters long. It's 5 meters wide. It's only 80 centimeters, so that's not very much. You got to keep your butt down when you're going under the barbed wire, Sophie.
Yeah, of course. And this, if you're going to do the crawl, really your first instinct is to use your legs.
Yes.
But you can't really use your legs, because if you use them, then your butt will go up and you will hurt yourself a lot. I've ruined so many training pants in this obstacle because I really wanted to use my...
I'd imagine you got some pretty nice scratches as well as you were going along there. Yeah. No, it's
I'm
not
not
very
going
nice.
to show you though.
No, we won't be looking at that. This is a family show, so we'll be saving that for a little bit later on. Sophie, thank you very much for the moment. We're going to invite in Mats Jakobsson now, a Dane who speaks perfect Swedish, very unusually. We're going to speak English though this morning because we're talking about the Nordic Championship here, the Tough Viking Race 2015, and you can follow it all here, the elite class at 10 o'clock. Mats Jakobsson from Reebok, welcome along.
Well, thank you very much.
Fitness coach for Reebok in Western Europe, am I right?
Well, yes, I'm the fitness and training manager, so I work with basically all our partnerships all over Europe.
All the partnerships all over Europe. And have you taken part in this race before, Mats?
No, so I'm old and I'm beat up, so I've done the obstacles, but I haven't actually done the race. So no, I'm not a tough Viking yet.
Not a Tough Viking just yet.
No.
You never know what's in the future there.
Well, I hope to become one.
We hope so too. It's getting a little bit windy here this morning. Tell me, Mats, why does Reebok get involved in partnerships like this? What's the big thing with the Tough Viking?
Well, I mean, a global decision was made that we wanted to get into obstacle racing, and there's a global partnership with Spartan Races. However, before we even got into that on a global level, we had a discussion with Dov locally about the event that he did. It was an amazing event, and we just liked the way that he wrapped everything together with the obstacles, the way he marketed it, the people that he was trying to attract, which weren't just obstacle racers. It was basically everybody with a healthy view towards their life and demands on their lifestyle, so to speak, that he wanted to invite everybody in, and then he made it scenic. He brought it into town so that you and I, as a spectator, could go watch it. It wasn't something where you and I would go into the woods and then run off, and 2 hours later come back and be like, this was awesome, what'd you do? I don't know. So here you can actually watch every obstacle, and that was one of the things we liked, and it was a pleasure talking to David very early on, and we're very, very fortunate to have been able to be a part of this for so long.
And indeed, if you are watching on metro.se or if you're watching on toughviking.se, we're right in the heart of Stockholm here at Gärdet. You can get here on public transport at the Gärdet Tunnelbana station. The Gärdet Underground station is right here. It's a short walk. Come down, you'll see the course almost as soon as you come out. There'll be some great action on the course from 10 o'clock onwards when the elite take part. Mats, I want to talk to you a little bit about the equipment that you're going to need out here today. We spoke to Sophie a little bit. The thing that I'm most interested in is the shoes. How do you pick a pair of shoes for a tournament like this?
Well, first of all, not naturally, you want a perfect fit, but you're also.
Yeah, keep talking.
Sorry, but no. So basically, you want a good fit for your shoes, definitely, but also you're looking for something that will give you traction. You're looking for something that won't attract too much water, and if you get water into your shoe, just sheds it immediately.
Yep.
If you don't have that, you're going to find yourself with a pair of really heavy shoes. You'll be sliding around all over the course. You're not going to get the traction you want. You're going to invite injuries into your game, and you're going to have to start making navigations around that. Your shoe shouldn't be an object, or it shouldn't be something that you think about during the course. You should just be able to go out there, perform, and then think about the things you talked to Sophie about.
Yeah. Indeed, there are some swamps that I'm going to talk to Sophie a little bit about later on. What's the risk of losing a shoe at some point in the swamps here? Is that
well, I mean, let's put it this way. If you've got the wrong shoes, it's definitely your risk. I mean, you want to be able to have a pair of shoes with a perfect fit that you can tie up the right way, where you know that the laces were made to be wet, they're made to be dry, they're made you can tie them up any which way you want. So it's definitely something I'd think about. I wouldn't go out here and just start running in my old running shoes and just hope it works.
I don't think I'd do that at all, but there you go. You have a strong background in CrossFit. Is CrossFit particularly good training for a race like Tough Viking?
Definitely. I mean, it widens your athletic base to a point where basically you're going to be ready for any kind of challenge at every point. You're not going to be a specialist at anything. You're not going to be a specialist at gymnastics or weightlifting or running, but you're going to be able to handle yourself pretty well. Plus, you're used to going into that miserable place and staying there. So when it hurts really bad, you're wet, you're tired, you don't want to go on, you're kind of used to doing it anyway. So.
And that's a big part of CrossFit, of course, is the sort of getting to your limit and then going over it and keeping going until you basically can't go anymore. You know?
Yes.
Explain to me a little bit about how CrossFit came to Sweden, because you've come into this very organically. You don't come from a sort of, a sports marketing background. You came into it from CrossFit.
Yes. So the way CrossFit got to Sweden was basically there were a couple of guys who were really into kettlebells, and they were kind of hanging out in different forums. One of these guys was Joakim Lundgren, who has an MMA center, so the Fighter Center in Stockholm. He introduced me to the website CrossFit.com. He's like, you should try this. So a friend of mine who worked out of the Fighter Center, and we went to the States, did our first level 1, and came back and started CrossFit in that Fighter Center, and then just kind of progressed from there on. So yeah, that was way back.
So that's where it started out. And finally, if I can ask you, what are you hoping to see here today? What are you hoping to get out of the day, both personally and for Reebok?
Personally, I just want to see people have fun. I want to see people challenge themselves. I want to see them go out there and perform something that they didn't think was possible before. I'm looking forward to watching the elite. I mean, it's breathtaking to watch them go through this course and the speed they do it. But what I'm looking for is just, people who enjoy working out, people who enjoy training, who get out there, run the course, help each other out, have a blast doing it, come back and go, you know what, I didn't think I could do it. But one of the best things that ever happened was that we had one girl who was helping out about a year ago at one of these events, and she basically said that it turned her life around. She wanted to go out there, she wanted to be tough herself. So she got back, she got into training. She started thinking about her diet, thinking about her mobility, thinking about, her cardiovascular endurance and so on and so forth. And she comes back a year later and crushes the course. That's what I want to see. I want to see people just enjoying themselves and being more human.
And hopefully we'll see plenty of that from when the race starts at 10 o'clock.
Pretty sure.
Lance Jakobsen, thank you very much for joining us. We have about 9 minutes to go until the first starter, so I'm going to call Sophie back in. Thank you very much, Mats. We'll see you again soon. We're still going through. There's an awful lot of obstacles that we have to get through here. We can see some of the athletes are warming up in the background here. They're skipping from side to side there. There's an awful lot of people here. As I say, groups of 150 start with 10 minutes of a gap, and of course the elite will be out on the course first. If we go back to the course itself now, we've made our way through about the first third of it, and the ninth obstacle that we have is the intersport rope climb. Now this comes about it's only about 25% of the way through the course. It's a tough one, Sophie. You got to get 5 meters up in the air and ring that bell.
Yeah, it's so much techniques with rope climb.
With rope climb.
With rope climb.
I had that
Thank you. Yeah, it's techniques. If you have right techniques, then you manage, and you just have to ring the bell and then go down. And also, getting down is the hardest part. I'd say it is. When I've been working on my climbs, getting down, not to burn your hands on your way down.
Okay, so you got to slide back down and get down as quickly as possible.
Because it's high, you can't just jump down.
It's 5 meters. The bells are hung 5 meters up in the air. I've actually heard of some people who will grab the rope and try to kick the bell to try to save themselves that last sort of meter of climbing. I don't think that's a little bit ambitious for me now. But sliding down is very careful. Of course, it is 5 meters, so you can't just jump off there either. Again, we're back to the military kind of exercises after that. We have the camouflage net crawl. Again, this is the height basically is put on the tournament guide or the race guide at 0 meters. So you're basically crawling along your belly again for another 20 meters. So it's another tough one to get through there.
Of course, and I just have to add with the camo that it's not like with the other because this is completely dark.
Okay,
it's
so you
really
can't see anything.
Scary. Yeah, it's scary because you don't know where you're going, where you're at.
Yep. And at this point of the course, we're about 25-30% of the way round now. Is it crowded right there, or has the field sort of thinned out?
I say it's pretty crowded.
It can still be pretty crowded there, yeah?
Yeah, you've been running for a bit, so you might have loosened some who didn't do their cardio. But otherwise, no, it is crowded. There's a lot of people. It's very dirty, you know.
It's kind of claustrophobic there. You go into the darkness and off you go. When I went around the course yesterday with the race director, David Clint, we had a look at the next and I thought this next one looked really, really tough. And he actually said that you welcome it when you get to it's the Metro Ice Tank. The Metro Ice Tank, ladies and gentlemen, is basically a big container filled with 20 tons of water and ice. And that must be very, very welcome, or?
I have to talk to David, I think.
Sophie's not a fan.
No, this is really, really interesting in a way because you really lose your head. Your mindset becomes so cold because you have to go under with your head. It's not just swimming.
There's a bar in this container, and your head has to go under that, otherwise you have failed the obstacle.
Exactly.
Yeah?
No, I say this is a big shocker. That's all I can say.
That's a tough one.
It's a tough one.
The next thing you meet is, most of our obstacles here are sponsored. The next thing you meet is the Reebok Blaze. They're 3 meters long, they're 2.5 meters wide, they're 2.1 meters high. The problem, though, is that the wall leans towards you, so there's nowhere that you can put a foot or that to get up. Is that somewhere where you might be looking for help from another competitor?
Of course.
You got to get it in there. We have about 7 minutes, I think, to go until the race starts, so we're just going to keep taking you through here. You can hear the music starting to kick off there in the background, so they're getting everybody to the start line at the moment. 5 minutes to the start, I'm told here. The SATS monkey bars.
Yep.
I'm thinking there's an awful lot of stuff here that's taking a lot out of your triceps here, right?
Yeah, of course. And this is more about grip, I'd say, because you have to swing yourself, and abs, of course. You have to swing yourself over, so really grip.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of technique involved in these things. It's not that you run out like a lunatic and you throw yourself at the course. You've actually got to work these things out as you go along. Yeah. We look at the Fruit Rampage. The Fruit Rampage is pretty tough. It's 5.4 meters high. It's the highest running ramp used in the world in obstacle racing, I believe. It's 10 meters wide, it's 8 meters long, and you basically got to run up, grab a rope and climb to the very top of it. Now, I believe that the elite, who will be seen kicking off here in about 4 minutes' time, that they can actually reach the top without the rope.
I think so. When I did it the first time, we didn't have any ropes, and I tried for 5 times and failed. So then I did my push-ups instead.
So you did your push-ups instead?
It's hard.
There is a penalty. If you can't manage any of the obstacles, ladies and gentlemen watching there at home, you get to do 30 push-ups or 30 burpees, depending on the obstacle you miss out on. Is it ever worth just skipping an obstacle and go, I'm not going to do that?
No, you have to try everything.
Yep.
And fail 2-3 times, then you can do your push-ups or your burpees.
I seem to remember a great Irish writer who once again said, fail, doesn't matter, try again, fail better next time. So either that, I'd rather do that than do burpees, I have to say. The rope walk is allegedly, those who've taken part have told me, it's the hardest obstacle on the course. This is basically swinging like Tarzan through 10 meters of rope. But it's not like Johnny Weissmuller in the old Hollywood films from the 1930s, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't look that romantic, and it's an awful lot more difficult than you'd think.
Yeah, more grip, more abs, more really tighten your body.
And of course, Johnny Weissmuller in those old Hollywood films, he kind of went from one to the other and he had about 20 takes. But right here we got 10 minutes. Or 10 meters,
No,
sorry.
10 meters, yeah.
That's tough going.
We'll see.
The mega walls is another climbing exercise. So you're bringing the whole body back into it again. Shipping containers built into a pyramid that will take you up to a height of about 5 meters all in total.
You can imagine.
They're turning up the music here in the background.
Yay.
We're not too far away from the Tough Viking, the start of the Tough Viking 2015. We'll be following the elite here with you this morning, the men's and ladies classes. We're expecting them to get underway now in about 3 minutes' time. The last obstacle, we're going to skip through a few here now. Of course, we'll follow them all through. There's some water obstacles, but the very last obstacle that we're looking at, I'm assuming that's the Coast Ranger boat. Is that the one that we've got?
No, it's the electric cage.
The electric cage, sorry, the very last obstacle before the finish line. It's brought to you by Reebok. I don't know if you can see what's behind us here, but basically it's 10,000 volts, electrical cables hanging down. It's low ampage now, so we're not likely to kill anybody, hopefully. But the cables are hanging down there. What's it like to get an electric shock just as you get over the finish line?
This is the most mental thing I've ever done. Twice. It hurts. Because if you get one stat...
Yes, if you get an electric shock
electric shock, yeah. If you get one, you can really feel it through your whole body, and it makes you shiver.
Yep. And of course, there's no way of avoiding it. You'll be able to see a little bit closer, ladies and gentlemen, as the elite reach the end of the course. It's kind of like a curtain of cables that are hanging down, and they hang all the way down pretty much to the ground, so there's no way of avoiding this whatsoever. Yeah, you can see there in the picture, you can see the way the curtain is hanging down there, so that's kind of like the thing that hangs over your balcony door in the summer to keep mosquitoes out, but it's an awful lot less pleasant. We also have water cannons, just for the fun of it, because you have electricity. Why not have a whole bunch of water cannons spraying the competitors with water as they make it? But the great thing is, at that point then, they reach the finish line.
Yeah. You just have to do it.
You just got to get through there.
Don't think, just do it, and then hope. Huh? And don't hope you're not getting like, you have to avoid every thread. And there are 10,000 of them.
10,000 threads, 10,000 bolts. But what does it feel like when you finally cross the line, when you finally become a tough Viking?
You are a tough Viking. It's amazing. You can live on that sensation and feeling for months afterwards.
And of course, it's something that nobody can take away from you. We've got a couple of minutes to go here. We've 1 minute, according to my calculations here, we've 1 minute to go before the elite starts. So we're going to take a quick look at some of the favourites here. We have the list in front of us here. We're trying to follow them as best we can in the elite group. We have two at the top here. We have Konstantin Abramidis and we have Thomas Mikkelson.
Yeah.
And I've been told that they're the two guys that we should really keep an eye on. They're probably, together with Simon Löfos, there are three favourites this morning.
Exactly. Konstantin and Thomas, they were both fighting for number 1 in Åre, and Thomas won. And Konstantin is Mr. Obstacle training himself.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think it will be a nice race to watch.
We're just looking at the pictures here as we're starting up the fire brought to you by Mini. This is what Sophie is talking about. They've got to run through the middle of that. You can see the flames starting to burn there. They've been sprayed with petrol. We have our security people standing by just in case everything gets out of hand. It gets very, very hot in there. It gets very, very difficult to breathe in there, but you've got to go down the middle of that. Behind that there we can see the hay bales because that's got to be kept burning all day. So out of the course is pretty much prepared now and it's ready for our competitors, the first group of which will be starting now at 10 o'clock. 150 in each start group. There are 10 minutes of a gap between each start group. It's very, very easy to fall behind. If you start missing out things and you got to make 30 press-ups or 30 burpees, it's going to take your time. And we're off! We're off! The Nordic Viking, or the Tough Viking race has started. The first guys are through. I can see number 1 there, Konstantin, is out the front there already. You call him Mr. Tough Viking already, Mr. Obstacle Racing, Sophie. And he's out. We're into the first run now. And we're headed down towards the second obstacle. So they've gone through the pain. They got through the pain reasonably quickly. Now they're out on the course. As you can see, it's open running. You'll see there that the grass has been cut here at Gärdet. So they've been given a little bit of help. You can see how long it was beforehand. They've been given a little bit of help. But the terrain is very, very uneven. Does that have a major effect on your calf muscle, Sophie, as they're running along?
No, of course it will. But I also say for your mindset, you have to really watch where you put your feet.
Of course,
so you don't get hurt.
A twisted ankle here at the early stage of the race, and that's you pretty much done.
Of course, and it takes more energy than to just run flat on asphalt or something else. Hard ground.
So a standard triathlon it's kind of easy in comparison when you think about it, because it might be very, very long, it might be very, very physically challenging, but it's pretty flat all the way through. Yeah. This is trail running at its absolute best. We've had a slight uphill run now as the elite come up towards the second obstacle there. They seem to get through the American footballers pretty easy. I don't know if the American footballers gave the girls a slightly harder time than what they gave the guys.
Maybe.
The first Tough Viking race here, it took place in 2012. And the first Tough Viking race that was held here at Royal Djurgården took place in 2013. We can see and you can see how quickly they're making it over and under here. It's literally only taken a few seconds for them to get there. First man is already through there. Yeah, we got the first group of 4, 5, 6 athletes just coming through there. They took it very, very quickly. And as Sophie was pointing out there, technique was of the essence there. They seemed to just hop over the first barrier there.
Yeah. Really technique.
Who have we got there in the lead at the moment? We have Simon Löfås. Simon won this year's previous race in Oslo. So Simon is another man, a bit of a dark horse here today. He's already out in front, of course. It's early days in the race yet. So we got to keep an eye on Simon and of course Konstantin and Thomas, who are the favourites for the race there. But Simon has started very, very well here this morning. Just crossing one of the riding paths there now, and on we can see in the background is the Cockness Tower, which basically provides an awful lot of the TV, radio and mobile phone signals for this part of Stockholm. There was 8 races held here in the Nordic region, ladies and gentlemen, in 2015 in Sweden, Finland, Norway and indeed in Russia. We've had 25,000 athletes taking part in obstacle racing and 150,000 people who have come to see these races so far this year. It's definitely a very fast-growing, very, very fast-growing sport. I can tell you as well that our female competitors have also started with the elite group. They're a little bit further behind. The one to watch there is Maria Velin. Maria won the race, the 8-kilometre race in Hagapack. And now we're coming up to the tyres. And we can see Seaman is really attacking these tyres. Superb technique there. The high knees that Sophie mentioned a little earlier on there. He's going through that. But you can see, however fast he's going and however good his technique is, the rest of the field is caught up. So whatever metres he managed to gain there from the red belt over and under, they've kind of caught up with them very, very quickly here. So I think every obstacle is kind of going to make the field more compact again as they go around.
They really keep a good pace, I'd say, in the running part.
It's looking quite quick at the moment. We'll see how much longer they manage to keep that up. But they seem to have a nice stable pace there. There's nobody trying to make a break at this early stage. I suppose it's early days yet for that kind of thing. The motto, of course, of the Tough Viking race is who dares wins. We're just coming up to the mini fire now any second. This is going to be interesting to see how they attack that. They're getting towards the mini fire now, so they're very, very close. And we'll see. Here they come through the mini fire. And they're spraying them with water just before they run through there. You can see them having to skip through the fire.
Really a jumping technique.
Good jumping technique there to get them through there. It looks very, very dangerous, but of course safety and security is paramount here.
I hope they shave their legs.
There could be a little bit of burning hair there. Certainly, lads, I don't know if they've thought of that before they went in there. So they get a little bit of a spraying with water there before they attack that. You can see it's actually it's hit our camera there as well. So we're getting real live footage from the field here. Yeah. Whatever you do, don't stop in the middle of the mini, brought to you by Fire. We're back in the studio here now as well. It seems to be a great pace to the start of the race so far. They seem to have taken off very, very quickly. How do you set a pace in a race like this? Would you decide, right, I'm just going to hang with this bunch of people, or do you just go all in yourself from the very beginning?
All in.
You just go all in.
You just have to think about the goal. Then nothing else matters. Okay. Then, I mean, a human can bear with so many things. And I mean, it's only your mindset that will set your own limits.
Of course, the positive thing if you decide to go all in is that you challenge yourself and you go at your own pace. But what happens if you fall behind the rest of the field?
I mean, it could go mentally on you.
Yeah.
But I'd say if I would do this run again, of course, and I will sometime, I would do it with a teammates. Okay. I would have my girlfriends or likewise.
There must be a great sense of security in knowing that there are people out there on the course with you and that they're going to help you out. So, but is it possible to win the elites working in a team, or is that if you're going to start a little bit later on in the day?
I think the elites are so much into winning that they want to do this by themselves. Yeah. It's more prestige, I guess.
We have our live feed back from the field at the moment. We can see the leaders are running there. We can see them coming across the trail here. We have Kalle and Otto are out there in the field for us. We can see them making their way to the next obstacle there. Well, the next obstacle is the walls. Is the steel walls we have next, or is it? We've had the run through far, so we should be coming to the steel walls, which are brought to you by Big Bag right there. We're giving a nice pace. You can see the arms working nicely there. The upper body is involved in pretty much everything you do here at the Tough Viking. This is the Nordic Championship, 15 kilometers. We're about 2 kilometers into the race there. And the guys are just coming up to the 4th barrier. Of course, the course, there we can see them just climbing over, and they go down into the containers. There are 4 different containers, so they have to climb down in and then climb out again before taking off again. And you can see it's a little bit slower coming away there. We have one guy just walking away there from the 4th or 5th obstacle there, from the walls brought to you by Big Bag.
Yeah, you can really see that these are elites because they're so fast.
Yeah.
There's no thinking at all. It's just doing.
They're just straight through there.
Yeah.
Is there a part of you that kind of needs to switch off mentally when doing these things? That you got to say, okay, I got to forget about this pain. I got to forget about this stiffness in my muscles.
Because you will get really sore with scratches. You will. I mean, it's not just like sore in your muscles.
Yep.
It's sore.
Of course, the SAS motto applies here: who dares wins. So you can't be afraid going into this thing at all. No. You can see some people swinging down there. The pace is a little bit slow coming out of there. You can see that it really does take it out of the various muscle groups when they're climbing down and hopping out again. I can't see Maria Velin there. We have quite a tight field there, so it's hard to see who is where Maria is in this particular field there. We haven't seen too many of the women, the elite women there. There are 11 elite women competing in that field this morning who went out in the first start group of 150. But we can see that it's very, very tough there. They seem to hop through the first 2 pretty easily. 2 is where it really takes out of you in terms of energy there. Of course, the course is not entirely accessible to us here in the TV team. There are certain places that we simply cannot reach for logistical reasons. We don't want to get in the way or jeopardize the safety of the competitors either. So in some places we'll have to take a little bit of a break. There's a man actually dressed as a Tough Viking. That guy, I don't know if there's any prizes for costumes, but definitely that guy would be one of the ones that we would be looking at. Number 31 there we see climbing out. That's Gustav Helgesson, who just climbed over the top there. And there we see Marcus Appelgren has just come down there as well. It's getting, I think some guys actually lost his bib there already, which it just goes to show the physical challenge that's out there. So you get pretty beat up on the course already, and there's only about 4, that's the 5th obstacle that we've done here. The next one is a natural obstacle. They're going to be coming up to the rock in the forest there. But there's still 25 obstacles to go. Number 7 in the women there. No, we haven't got that list to hand at the moment. But we're seeing the first of the girls in the elite there coming in there. This is looking really, really tough there. There is, as Sophie says, there's not a whole lot of thought going on here. You can almost see the pain etched on the faces here as they climb into the last of the big bag steel walls.
Think that you have to do something that is really hard, not once, but more than 8 times.
Yeah, you got to get in and you got to get
down, up and down.
Are there bags inside the containers as we cut to the forest here?
Yeah.
Now we're going over the rock. This is proper trail running there, but there are bags inside the containers to help them up again.
But still, as me, for example, I needed help. So I really grabbed someone, help me.
You just knock somebody down and climb,
exactly.
over them. It's the way to do it.
You know me already.
There you go. That's the competitive spirit that we have here in the studio, ladies and gentlemen. It's tough that we just saw them entering the forest there. I can tell you from having driven the course yesterday that the distance between these obstacles is slightly greater at the moment now. So they will have a chance to gain a little bit more time to spread out the field a little bit. But then, of course, there'll be 3 or 4 obstacles coming together. An average of somewhere between 400 and 500 metres between the obstacles. But now we're into the real trail running in the forest. And we can see that the pace has picked up again. That looks like Simon, who's out in front there again. That's Simon Löfås. Simon is a little bit of a dark horse, as I said. Won the race in Oslo earlier this year. So if Thomas and Constantine were favourites, Simon would certainly be the 3rd favourite to win here today. And he's out in front at the moment. And our cameraman again just in front of him. We'll see how long we can follow Simon through the forest.
Now it's uphill running, and that is hard for your calves and all of your backside.
I can tell you that hill is very, very steep as well. We were in an all-terrain vehicle going up that hill yesterday. It's very, very tight. It's a kind of a gravel path. It's loose stones. So even though it's not grass, it's not the field that you're running, the footing still isn't very sure. You're still going to be very, very careful as you go along there. The tape that you can see between the trees there, it was painstaking to tape off the entire route. We have them in the forest at the moment. We taped off all that just so that not just the competitors, but also that the locals who go walking their dogs here would know that something big was happening today. Did you meet any locals in Hagapark and anybody out walking their dogs?
This morning, and the dogs are running back and forth and they love when something new happens.
Exactly, and there'll be great excitement out there. 30,000 spectators around this course today. Of course, some will be coming to see friends and family members. Some will be coming to see the top athletes in obstacle racing who are taking part in this Nordic Championship tough Viking race. Simon is making great headway there through the forest. A little bit of a gap in the picture there. Of course, we have to remember that in the forest here, the coverage isn't always 100%. We're depending on the mobile networks, which of course Sweden is very innovative in those ways. So we're able to bring you these fantastic live pictures from a late summer morning here in Stockholm as they make their way through this course. Am I right in saying that the next obstacle after the rock here is the tractor tire flipping? Now, I'm wondering with these guys in the elite here, right? Simon here is right out at the head of the field. He's on his own. Will he be able to lift this 250 kilo tractor tire?
If he can deadlift 250 kilos, then he might do it. But I hope he really can find his inner strength and do this. You know, as you can do sometimes, like some people have lifted cars.
Of course,
when someone gets stuck underneath.
So you get the adrenaline kick and that takes
I'm hoping for the adrenaline now.
Yeah. The pictures we're seeing here is actually the Intersport rope climb. I wonder if Simon isn't coming to that next, and I don't know if I was looking at the corner of the map of Yadit here. The rope climb is 5 meters. You can see there, we can't actually hear it unfortunately, but there are actually cowbells hanging 5 meters above the ground. As Sophie was saying, the technique here is very, very important.
Yeah.
What technique and how much help are your legs in terms of rope climbing?
It's extremely important with your legs because you just have to, like a worm, you go in, you go up, you go in, you go up. It's exactly the same technique. And then you have to really watch your feet. And there are some terrain shoes that are really good for rope climbing also.
Okay, so slightly more rubbery terrain shoe that will get you a bit of grip there. I'm wondering, probably not pointing to my six-pack at the moment, but I'd imagine the abs are very important in terms of that sort of opening and closing there as well. We're hoping to see somebody climbing up those ropes at the Intersport rope climb very soon. We have volunteers. I think there's 150 volunteers placed out around the course. Some of those are nice people handing water, handing out refreshments. Others are the evil people who say, hey, you haven't made this one, you got to do your burpees, you got to do your press-ups. And of course we have them at the Intersport rope climb and at all the other obstacles along the course. We can't see Simon. I think we can see one or two of the guys there. As you look in the background there, actually to the right of your picture, you can see one of the obstacles. I think that is the big bag steel walls there where they're climbing in and out. It all takes place here in Yadit, 15 kilometers mapped out over this beautiful scenic route. We are back in the forest here looking at Simon. We're going to see if he's going to make it down to the tractor tires now, 250 kilos. Yeah. You mentioned there about the adrenaline, but it's a different thing doing this in the gym and doing it out in the field in the middle of an extreme sports race, flipping 250 kilos. If we want to talk about the deadlift, the key parts of the deadlift here, it's the back.
Yeah, it's the back and the legs, and just to not... you have to really protect your knees.
Okay.
That's why you want to use your hip instead.
You want to use your hips
Now,
instead?
I'm standing in I'm trying to stand in position now, but
That's good. You're giving a great illustration to the viewers at home.
Maybe I shouldn't. As I said, Google deadlift and you will get the right techniques.
Okay.
But I say use that, but instead of having that grip, you use this grip.
You grip the tire on the outside
really
and you're hovering.
use your legs and your hips.
Now, when you're doing it, I'm assuming that you want a pretty explosive movement. You don't want to be hanging around with this 250 kilo weight.
Yeah, you just have to, you know, tighten everything and just decide.
Tighten everything.
Yeah.
I'm starting to realize, ladies and gentlemen, that it's core strength here. We're
Yeah,
talking about
a
very
lot
much
of
the
core strength.
abs, the butt. Those muscles are the ones
Yeah.
that are going to be painful for these guys this evening.
Yeah.
But if you make it across this finish line, if you make it through these 10,000 volts, I'd imagine the adrenaline and the sense of achievement you get is going to make it
It's
all
amazing.
worth it.
Amazing. Better than champagne.
Better than champagne. I don't know if it's some cola on this, I can tell. We'll soon have Seaman and the rest of the leading group in the elites. They're going to get down to the tractor tires reasonably soon. After that is an entirely different challenge, the barbed wire, where all Sophie's training pants have met their end. So we'll be hoping to get to that reasonably soon as well. Have we gone 10 minutes into the... We're 15 minutes into the race now, which means that the second start group is on the course. And basically we're going to have 150 people starting every 10 minutes until 2 o'clock. 4,000 runners in total we're going to see taking on this course today. Some in teams, some as individuals. We're back to the forest now, and we can see there's more trail running. A little bit downhill. I think he's actually coming up to the tractors now. There's about 1 kilometre of a trail run before he comes to the tractor tires there. It's tough going, it's tough going. I just wondered, on a 50 kilometre course,
I would be so focused in what I'm doing, but of course I guess some of these elite runners, that they have some snack or something, maybe some gel, really fast carbs.
These gels are very popular. When you say fast carbs, to the layman, does that mean like sugar, or does it mean more sort of...
It's more like glucose,
glucose,
raw. I'd say raw sugar.
It's raw sugar.
Or maybe dextrose, some kind of really fast energy.
Yeah, so something that goes straight to the muscles and gives you a kick there.
And the brain. I'm talking a lot about the brain, but I mean the mental part. So your brain is with you all the time.
That is the thing. You mentioned something to me before we went live on air here from the Tough Viking Nordic Championship race here this morning. You mentioned the concentration is very, very important, because some of the obstacles, it's not just physical strength you need to get over them. You also need to be smart. Explain a little bit about these climbs.
You have to know where you keep your limbs and your arms and your feet, because everything happens fast. And if you don't think, that's when you are in a position to hurt yourself.
Yep.
Like in everything you do. But it's extra important here because you haven't tried these obstacles before. Maybe you've done it a year before at the same race, but everything is unique. So, I mean, it's just important to have your mindset and to know the movements. It's so connected, you know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Indeed, I was out there at about 7:45 this morning, ladies and gentlemen, and some of the elite athletes were walking around the course. Now, to save energy, they weren't actually testing out any of the obstacles. We're coming up to the Intersport rope climb here now. A 5-metre climb straight up into the air. It's going to be interesting to see how the leading group attacks this now. Jump straight up.
You see his technique here.
Yeah,
That's a really good technique.
That was incredibly fast.
This is only arm strength. That's good.
Yeah, so he barely used it. No, that was actually Thomas Mikkelson there that we saw ringing the second bell. So we had Simon Löfås there in the lead, and he did that worm movement, the contraction and expansion that you were talking about there. They have gone through the Intersport rope climb. The two leaders there, we have Simon Löfås in the lead, and we have Thomas Mikkelson, one of the favourites there, in second place. Just looking at some of the impressive results that Thomas has posted. He tends to compete in these not extreme sports as such, as regular marathons, half marathons, and that kind of thing. So we have some interesting statistics there. He ran the Stockholm half marathon in 1 hour and 23 minutes, which is not bad going at all. Interesting there that just on the rope climb here, hopefully we'll have pictures from it there again. We're just going to look at the technique here. Here's Konstantin, who seems to be about 30-40 seconds behind.
Konstantin knows what he's doing.
Yeah. Konstantin's head was at the height of the bell there. He could have actually rung it with his head there. He got up really, really quickly there.
He did only two like climbs.
Yeah, he just did
up.
two pulls and he was up there. Now, we spoke a little bit earlier on about how to attack the course and that kind of thing. Is Konstantin going to be worried now that the other two guys are a couple of 100 metres in front of him?
I don't think he needs to be worried because maybe there's an obstacle that's coming that they don't have the hang of.
Yep.
And he had the hang of like rope climbing, so we'll see. I don't think it's over yet.
I know it's far from over. There is still a good 10 kilometres at least from where these guys are on the course at the moment. We have the leading group there. We saw Simon Löfås, who's in the lead at the moment, from Thomas Mikkelsson, and then shortly after them came Konstantin Avramidis. There we go. Now we're seeing that the rest of the elite are starting to get up there. Number 27 there, we're seeing Marcus Hallbeck climb up to the top there. Marcus is struggling a little bit, and
that's what I mentioned. The burning sensation.
You got the burning sensation. You mentioned gloves earlier on there, and they don't seem to. Number 4 there, we're looking at Niklas Gavelfeld there. Niklas struggled a little bit in the beginning there. They don't seem to be wearing gloves this morning, which is interesting.
I think it's because they are hardcore, I guess.
This is the thing now. We're back on the trail running now again. We're seeing them run across. You can actually see from that picture there how unlevel the ground is and how difficult it must be to keep your footing. Again, a twisted ankle is going to kill you right here. You're not going to be able to complete the race with any sort of lower leg injury. You might get a scratch that you can survive, but a lower leg injury, any of the joints there, and you're pretty much done for the day there. So Konstantin is not going to be worried at this early stage now. The obstacles here are a great leveler, ladies and gentlemen. You could have a lead of 200 meters, you could have a lead of 500 meters, but if you're punished and you have to do 30 burpees or 30 press-ups, it's going to cause you a few problems. We have a man struggling. Is that number 3 there? We have Patrick Edlund struggling a little bit, and the breeze is actually taking his bell away from him. So Mother Nature is taking a toll on some of our competitors here. Of course, we're not just competing against the man-made elements and the evil geniuses who have designed our course. We're competing against Mother Nature herself. We are looking right there are we looking at the Metro? Is that the Metro ice path we're looking at?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, the Metro ice tank. 20 tons of ice and water in there, and Simon seems to have flown through it. That might actually be welcome after the rope climb and everything else like that. I think the cool, well, the sub-zero temperatures, if the truth be told, of the ice bath may not be such a bad thing.
But I have a hard time saying that it's welcomed. I'd say maybe it's necessary, but I wouldn't say that you look forward to this.
There's a difference between race director Clint and expert Sophie here. David was saying that he welcomed it when he got out on the course in previous years. But I'm just thinking, there's an effect on the muscles as well when you jump into an ice bath there.
Everything becomes affected because, I mean, it's almost like 1 degree and you have to dip your head so you don't get any air. All the air sucks out of your lungs.
Yeah, but does it wake you up? I'm sure it wakes you up a great deal as well. And that's what you need. You need a little bit of pep there when you're coming through the course. I can tell you that it's very, very windy here today. So if you're after climbing into that ice path and then out again, then you get a blast of wind. It's going to feel even colder again, right?
It will hurt so much.
It's going to hurt so much. But then having said that, looking at the pace that these guys are running, it's not going to take them too long to dry out and for the sweat to replace the ice cold water. I think from what we can see there, Simon is still out in the lead. Looks to be a pretty good pace. But the lead is somewhat. He's only 30 or 40 meters ahead of the competitor there. So we can see as they make their way across the trail and down towards the next obstacle. We've got, after the ice tank, the Metro ice tank, we're coming up to the Reebok Blades. The Reebok Blades are a very interesting one because it's a wall that is 2.1 meters high. The difficulty with this particular obstacle is it leans towards you. Now, so far we've looked at the elite attacking these obstacles. How difficult is it for a regular Joe, a regular Svensson? How difficult is it for them to attack these things?
If we're talking about the Reebok Blades, I'd say that you really need help.
You've got to have help again.
Yeah, this is nothing. If you're really, really good at jumping, like doing box jumps forever.
There we go. We can see them going over the wall there.
Yeah, I mean, these are elites also.
We got to remember we're watching the elite here.
Exactly, it's easy for them. But for me, for example, I would really use someone who pushes me over and maybe even grips my hands while I'm over.
Okay.
Because it's a lot of arm grip.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of pressure on the biceps and the triceps here to get over these. As I said, the elite, they're kind of eating up this course now, but this is why they are the elite, ladies and gentlemen. They've trained for this for 6 months or for a year. They've taken part in these races before. Even if they haven't met these particular obstacles before, they have the physical prowess and the mental capacity to deal with these things as they go along. We're watching our leader, Simon Löfås, as he makes his way down towards the next obstacle. And now, when does the lactic acid, the milk sheeder, when does that start to kick in, would you say?
Right after the American football team. No, I'm kidding. I'd say these are elite, so I don't know if he even feels it now. He might feel it, but he has a strong mind. Yep. But it's very independent for everyone, but it comes early.
It comes in.
Of course, because I mean, it's syre till musklerna.
Yeah, it's the oxygen to the muscles that you need.
Disappears.
Yeah, it
really
just vanishes.
quick, yeah.
Because it is the interesting thing about CrossFit, and the interesting thing about obstacle running is that it is that combination. You previously in training, before these things existed, we talked about endurance fitness and explosive fitness. And I know in soccer, which I've worked a lot with as well, that it's more explosive fitness.
Yeah.
It's actually explosive fitness over short distances. But here you have to combine the two.
Yeah.
So is CrossFit the way? We're looking at the SATS monkey bars, and this is also going to prove to be a test for the elite. Let's just watch now as Simon takes this. We'll watch his hand technique. Keeping his shoulders very, very straight there, coming right through it. He's not swinging at all. No. You can see the way his feet are moving. And that is absolutely exemplary of Simon as he goes all the way through here.
Amazing.
But right up behind him, we can see Thomas Mikkelsen is taking him there. He took just a tiny little break there. We'll be expecting to see Konstantin any second soon. But those who are out in front, this technique of not hanging with the arms, they seem to be sort of keeping their shoulders very, very straight and moving their feet. That's obviously something that they practice as they train at their gym.
Exactly. They're really strong in their upper body, so they have the capacity to do that. But I guess a regular trainer would have to use their whole body to swing, because otherwise you fall down. And also the grip. That's the thing most people don't work out in. It's like for these races, cardio and grip strength.
Grip strength
really
is the big
grip
thing.
Strength, yeah, because
we're going to see some obstacles a little bit later on. Sophie talking about grip strength there. It's actually sort of getting there and being able to exert the power of your tricep and bicep muscles that will drag you up onto these things. The momentum that you have when you're swinging, as I say, if we go back to the average runner who's going to be starting a little bit later on in the day, he's not expecting to complete an hour and 5, an hour and 10 minutes. But for the average runner, it might take somewhat longer. Could I ask you what your time was in a previous race?
Ooh, actually, in Hagaparken last year, I came on place 48.
48, that's pretty good going.
I think it was like 500 female runners. But then I have to add, I did a lot of push-ups, but it was because of the running part that I just could, run.
Okay, so you made up your time on the running,
exactly.
and then the obstacles worked out as they worked out.
But I don't actually remember my time here at Djurgården right now. But
well, of course, it's very difficult to compare because each course is different. This course is 15 kilometers long, 30 obstacles to be dealt with. Every course is different. The weather conditions, of course, can be different as well. We spoke there a couple of minutes ago about grip strength. We're going to be seeing more people coming to the SATS monkey bars a little bit later on. Yeah. How do you practice grip strength? Is it one of these small things you can buy for 20 kroner?
No. I say don't use any tools, don't use any bands, nothing. When you're doing deadlifts, when you are pushing your barbells, no tools. Just try to pull-ups, muscle-ups, everywhere. Carrying your groceries home. Yep. Just carrying stuff.
So it's just the everyday training that you could do there, these things as well. One of the things that we've talked about earlier on is your past as a personal trainer. I know you don't work so much with that anymore, but do you find that people lack technique a little bit? As we look at the monkey bars again, some great technique there. But do the average Joe, does he need to work a little bit more, or Josephine for that matter? Do they need to work a little bit more on their technique in terms of doing deadlifts, in terms of doing chin-ups and that kind of thing?
Absolutely. It's so important to have your techniques before you go on the weights.
Yep.
So really use a personal trainer and Google, YouTube, just to see and work on it.
Yeah. We have one of our sponsors here today is SATS, and I know that they do offer personal trainers and indeed an introductory hour to show you how to use all the machines, but people should sort of take that particular hour and make the most of it so that they learn the correct technique on the machines and with the free weights and the kettlebells. Or indeed, I think Mats Jakobsson is still here, and if ever there was a man to talk about CrossFit training, he'll be the one to tell you about it. We are out in the field now. Is that Simon still in the lead? Simon is still in the lead as he comes across the path there. We are now going up the fruit rampage. 5.4 meters straight up in the air. Let's see if he makes it up without using the rope. He had one little hand on the rope there and he makes it up to the very top.
It's amazing. Just imagine, the speed he has to have just to go straight up. He didn't even use the rope.
And he's straight down the other side there.
It's so explosive.
That is incredible explosive power there. We spoke as well about the kind of shoes that you need here. The difference between the hard rubber studded shoe that you can use for trail running. But again, you'd want a little bit softer rubber, a little bit of grip there going up there. I don't know, we'll have to ask Simon later on if he does come in and take part in the winner's interview here in the studio at the Tough Viking 2015. We'll ask him what shoes he used and indeed about his tactics for the race. There you could have seen one of our race stewards driving around the course. Of course, safety and security very, very important to us here at the Tough Viking, and we're keeping an eye on all the athletes as they go around. Simon is back out on the trail here, making the most of his lead. There seems to be the gap to Thomas Mikkelsen seems to have opened up, and he'll probably be helped, Simon, by the fact that he managed to make his way up the fruit rampage so quickly. when we move on from the Fruit Rampage, of course, he's almost reaching about the halfway point in terms of obstacles there. But the next one is a very, very difficult one. The next one we're coming to is, it's 10 meters long, it's 7.4 meters wide, it's at a height of 3 meters, and basically this is the Johnny Weissmuller Tarzan swing that we were talking about a little bit earlier on. Now the problem here is that if he falls off, as far as I can ascertain from the rules, if he falls off, the penalty kicks in straight away. He's got to do the burpees or the push-ups. So it will be interesting to see that Simon, who has been technically pretty much perfect so far in this race, that if he actually manages to get through this one without being penalised.
This is really, really arm strength. Just, and the grip.
Here we go. Simon's coming up now. He's just moving up onto the step now, and we'll see if he manages to do it. Again, you can see the straight shoulders getting a little bit of a momentum there. This has got to be tough now. He's only halfway. But he's making it so far.
He is so focused.
And you can see how the field has closed in right behind him as he does this. So you can see Thomas behind him. Thomas is very, very low there. Thomas is gone. We can't see that. Simon is through it. Simon looks like he made it through without the penalty. 30 burpees or 30 push-ups is going to take an awful lot longer than that. So I think we can take it that Simon has made it through there. This is incredible so far. 15 obstacles in, and Simon Löfås, our leader, seems to have taken all of them with technical perfection so far. We, the most changes in the field, we are looking at the moment, we're going to see, we're just looking down through to see if Simon can be caught at all at this point in time. He's been excellent so far. I'm wondering if one of the water, one of the swimming issues might take him there. I kind of thought that the rope walk there, Sophie, was going to catch him out a little bit, and that was going to tighten up the field. But it's actually turned out to be the other way around.
He's like a machine.
Can you see anything here?
Maybe the sack line. I don't know about his balance.
Yep.
We'll see.
So far his balance looks been pretty good. I was impressed with his upper body strength there, certainly. The slack line looks like one. And then of course we have the dip walk. The 23rd obstacle that we have on the course is the dip walk. And this is a major challenge for triceps. It is 7 meters long, but walking 7 meters pretty much only on your triceps, that's going to be a challenge.
With your straight arms and just your body.
Yeah, so you're basically sort of pushing along like this with your feet off the ground. Again, that's another obstacle that if you put a foot on the ground, that's it, you're over, you're into the penalty straight away. But so far Simon has been excellent. We see the next one that Simon is moving on to is the mega walls. We're looking at a 5 meter climb there. But he's pretty much out on his own at the moment, Simon Löfås. He's opened up a bit of a gap there. And he's already over the mega walls. This is an amazing lead that he has built up. We just saw a very quick clip of Simon coming down the other side of the mega walls here. So I think we could be looking at a potential winner, the dark horse who won this year's race in Oslo, Simon Löfås. There you can see the mega walls is basically disappearing into the distance behind him as he absolutely crushes this course going around.
We have to know what he had for breakfast.
That's the first question. Is going to be what he had for breakfast. I don't know if you could do this on yogurt alone. I don't think it's possible. So,
or a quark.
Exactly. A cottage cheese and yogurt. I reckon that he definitely had the sugar in the orange juice that you were telling me that we wouldn't be drinking here this morning. Looking very, very stable as we come up. I think, there we go, running up the Fruit Rampage again. Got to the very top there. We're still looking to see the first runner who manages to get over the top without using the rope. Can we see a bib number? The bib number appears. The bib appears to have been lost somewhere as we go around there. We have a list of competitors. There are 4,000 in total. There are 150 in the first group to start out in the elite. Number 60 there is Gustav Melgen, who's just coming over the Fruit Rampage there. And you can see the rest of the field tightening in behind him. This course seems to be a lot of small victories that all build up to one big one. I'd imagine the feeling when you get to the top of the Fruit Rampage. It's 5.4 meters of an explosive run up. You take the rope, so it comes from the legs at the beginning and then the upper body at the end. It must be a great victory when you get to the top.
Yeah, if you manage it,
if
of
you
course.
Make it.
No, as I said, I did my push-ups on this one. I tried 3 times, but I couldn't manage. I think I had the wrong shoes while I did it.
That might be it.
That's my excuse, at least.
It's a good dry day here. It's quite windy here at Gärdet in Stockholm, in the centre of the Swedish capital this morning. I think the wind actually might be helpful, apart from when running uphill. It might cool them down a little bit. But I'd imagine on a wet day, this course is 10 times more challenging.
Yeah, it's
back in the forest here with Simon, who is our leader at the moment. I'm looking at his arms there. They're swinging a little bit, which is usually a sign of tiredness in a runner. You can see the right arm is swinging out a little bit there. The stewards are keeping the traffic away as he makes his way across the road there. And he is back on the track there. He almost missed out there a little bit. Now we got a crawl going on here, so you can see him hitting the deck there, and still immense speed there under the crawl. Comes out the other side. I mean, he's been absolutely faultless so far in the technical elements of this race here. The only thing I would be worried about, as the old Neil Young song goes, it's better to burn out than to fade away. I don't know if he's going to burn out a little bit longer in the course. The head's starting to roll a little bit now. Another sign the tiredness is starting to kick in. The lactic acid starting to build up in the muscles. But his lead is probably that big now after Thomas failed at the rope walk. It was the rope, no, it wasn't. It was yeah, on the not the Intersport rope climb, the other one, the rope walker that we had there. That's the gap is after opening up here, so maybe he can afford to be a little bit tired and afford to take a little bit of a break here. Maybe he doesn't have to have his pedal to the metal. There are some of the 30,000 spectators standing there, 2 horses watching Simon pass by here. As I said before, Gärdet is very much a centre for sports here, right in the heart of the Swedish capital, right on the edge of the city. It's part of a city park here that covers 27 square kilometres, stretching to Haga, out in Solna, down to the south here in Djurgården. And we're covering a lot of that this morning on this 15-kilometre course, 30 obstacles. I think there's a little bit of water coming up soon as well. Yeah. Now this is where it gets tough. As I said, if you watch Simon's right arm is swinging a little bit there, his head is rolling. It rolls just a little bit. He seems to have the stability back there again. But what's coming, Sophie, is the swamp.
Yeah, and I really hope for his sake that he gets a classical kallsup. I guess I should have googled this in English.
Kallsup is
yeah,
when you
so he
against your will whilst trying to breathe.
exactly. So he gets some energy. I mean,
would that actually get you energy, or would you not just gag?
I did it in Hagaparken last year, and it was delicious.
It was delicious. That was what woke you up.
Yeah, I just felt like the small stones coming down my throat. It was, and that's really still water. You know, it doesn't move a bit during the whole year.
So it's stagnant. It's sort of sitting there. It's full of mosquitoes and that kind of thing.
Amazing. Lots of proteins.
I don't know. That's dietary or nutritional information I wouldn't have expected. Gravel, mosquitoes and stagnant water. As you can see, Simon's quite out in front there. Obviously we have 2 teams out in the field, ladies and gentlemen, on all-terrain vehicles. They won't be able to follow Simon into the swamp, but we certainly will see him as he exits it. The swamp, apparently it's about 100 meters long. I'll put it this way, on the course map it says about 100 meters long. It looked a lot longer to me yesterday. The risk here, how would you approach the swamp in terms of speed? Because there is a risk that a foot gets caught, you lose a shoe, you can lose an awful lot of time there, and if you lose your shoes you're pretty much done for the day here as well.
My like point taken of this is that I try to swim instead of walking.
Okay.
Because so you will really sink
okay.
really deep, because this is a swamp. For real.
Yeah, of course, every step then, if you're getting stuck in a swamp, every step is going to be tough. You're going to be sort of pulling.
My tactics would be to swim.
It would be to swim as much as possible. If we look at the mechanics of that swimming, would you be using a breaststroke or a crawl stroke?
If I knew crawling, I would do crawling. But since I only know this one, I do.
The breaststroke is the one to be on there.
Or a dog swim. Woo!
If you can manage it. Sophie, if you want to go and get the papers there, that's no problem. As you can see, you can see how windy it is here in Hagaparken. I'm not sure if you can hear it in the microphones. It's very, very windy here at Gärdet this morning. The wind is blowing. It might be welcome for those coming out of the ice bath and for those coming out of the swamp. Just behind us here, you can see an awful lot of both the spectators and some of the competitors who are lining up here out in good time. Of course, we have starting groups going until 2 o'clock today. We are 36 minutes into the Tough Viking Race 2015. This is the Nordic Championship you are watching here. You're welcome to watch the whole race on live here. We're following the elite groups until about 11, a quarter past 11, when we see them come through the 10,000 volts and finally over the finish line here to become Tough Vikings for 2015. It's a wonderful day. The sun is shining, the wind is blowing. We have a huge crowd building here behind us. You can see our sponsor tents here. And it's amazing the amount of people. 30,000 spectators come out. Did any of your family or friends come out to watch you when you took part in this race?
They actually run, like the last kilometer, they run with you.
They actually run with you the last kilometre?
Yeah.
No, but they don't run through the 10,000
no.
at the end. No.
No.
Just before you come to the finish line here, ladies and gentlemen, and the 10,000 volts and the water cannon, you get to meet the Swedish Coastal Rangers. Some of the Swedish Coastal Rangers actually take part in this event as well, and indeed they've helped us to design some of the obstacles of the course. 30 obstacles in total, many of them classic military obstacles such as the camouflage net crawl, the barbed wire crawl, the tyre run and that kind of thing. At the moment we're just waiting for pictures from out in the field again. As I said, it's quite inhospitable terrain. It's not easy for the athletes, it's also not easy for the camera teams that are out there. Our leaders are a little over halfway through the course there now. some of our papers here have blown away, so I'm just trying to catch up with where we are. We've gone through the mega walls. At what point are we on? Yeah, we're just coming up to the swamp now. Our leaders should be coming up to, if not in the swamp at the moment there.
And after the swamp, it's submerged.
Yeah, after the swamp, we have another, let's call it a water hazard for now. There's a 15-meter crawl through a pipe, and then out to the submerged. That's a short swim out, and then they have to dip under barrels. We'll have shots, hopefully, from the coastline there about what's happening there. At the moment in the lead, as far as we can see out in the field, is Simon Löfås. Simon won this year's earlier race in Oslo. He's in first position at the moment. Thomas Mikkelsen appears to be in second place. He came first at Åre in this year's previous competition. And Konstantin Avramidis, who's one of the favourites going into today, he's a little further back. We think around about third or fourth place. We'll be going back to the field soon enough. Again, if we talked a little bit about nutrition going into this, we spoke about the gels that they use going around. Is there anything else that you can sort of take? You know, will they have brought anything with them on the course? There's no need for a compass or anything like that, but will they have brought anything with them?
I mean, since you're climbing, since you're in water, and a lot of stuff is going on all the time, it's really hard to bring, like a regular race, to bring nutrition. But I would say the best thing, I guess, it's kind of gel or nothing that is dry from the beginning.
Of course,
yeah, something easy. But then if you're going to use any like supplements, then you need to train with them beforehand.
Yes.
So you can't just use gel today if you haven't tried before, because then your tummy and maybe your whole system will, it will, Yeah,
there are enough surprises on this course for the body without introducing gels and that kind of thing there. We were looking at, we noticed when we got to the sport rope climb as well, that some of the athletes didn't use gloves. Do you think they have gloves with them, or will they just go, hey, I'm too hardcore for this?
No, I don't think you will put on any gloves while you're in the race. I think you will have, what you have is what you have.
Okay, where you start at that.
Yeah.
If you're following this race on social media, welcome along. You can use the hashtag ToughViking. You can send your questions to us, and maybe the production team will be able to communicate them to us. So if you have anything to ask Sophie, you go right ahead.
Yeah.
We can see the trail running here now. I can tell you it's very, very windy here, and they'll probably appreciate that out on the course. A little bit more so than we do in the studio here, because it's blowing right. It's like a wind tunnel here. So if you want to test your wind sprints, you can feel free to join us here in the studio and do so. We can see both in front and behind now we have the all-terrain vehicles. I think we're looking at Simon there. We'll soon find out exactly what point in the course he's at. I'd say he's probably on his way down towards the submerged now, the pipes and the submerged. A 50-meter crawl through a very claustrophobic pipe, which ends in the water. So it's not like you finish on solid ground. You finish in the water, you swim out, and you go to the submerged, which takes you under barrels. Yeah, this is starting to look a bit familiar. He's coming up to the submerged, I would hope. Maybe he's gone past it. Maybe he's even further along the course than we would have expected. You can see there the all-terrain vehicles flying around. You'll often see that in extreme sports. It's can be difficult to cover, so the use of drones and helicopters and all-terrain vehicles is very, very necessary to bring you these fantastic live pictures from Gärdet here in the heart of Stockholm.
They even use mopeds, regular mopeds this year.
A regular moped this year as well.
Not only four wheels.
not only four wheels. I noticed actually out on the course as well that you come to some places where basically it's impossible. You can't get a moped through, you can't get anything. At that point, of course, we have to leave and find another way to do it. So it's challenging from a production point of view as well as for the athletes. But of course, it is the athletes, the obstacle runners, who are facing the biggest challenge of all here. If that's Simon, he seems to be pacing himself very, very well there. Good, solid, steady, little bit uphill there.
He did his cardio.
He did his cardio. As Sophie was saying earlier on, do your cardio. You can do all the strength training you want.
I am a runner by heart, and I think so many miss out on that important, like, endurance.
Yeah. And is it possible to actually sort of predict? Can you come out here to Gärdet the week before the race and run around and get some sort of a feel for it, or is it impossible to recreate this?
You could try and do like I don't know, forest running or likewise.
Yeah.
But this is one time only, once a year. So.
But does it help to see the environment beforehand?
Of course.
It does help to see that.
Just to get mentally set, maybe. I'm not the type that wants to see it. I just do it. But I guess for elites or likewise, it's good.
I suppose it comes down to that when you're talking about the elite level here. The guys who will complete the course in a little more than an hour or so, and now we can see them back on the course again.
He did.
That's Simon there. He's just after going over the balance beams there, So at this stage he's gone past the submerged, he's gone past the 20th, so he has done two-thirds. Two-thirds of the course is done, two-thirds of the obstacles are done for our leader, Simon Löfås. He went over the balance beams there pretty quickly. I think we can have a quick check, but I think they're about 15 meters long. And again, if you put your foot down, you're going to go back to the start. So Simon seemed to eat up those pretty quickly as well. If we go back to what we were saying about the elites there, an awful lot of it is not just the physical or the mental capacity, but it comes down to preparation. There we can see a jogger who was out on her morning jog this morning. I'm not sure if she's going to take advantage of some of the obstacles along the way. I would advise her probably not to. I wouldn't like to get in Simon's way when he's this far ahead of the course at the moment. The head rolling just a little bit there, and Simon's now passing out the jogger. Did he have a little chat with her there? Maybe he was checking to see if she was actually in the lead, and it wasn't Simon Löfås who's leading the field at the moment. No, I think as soon as he saw that she didn't have the vest number on in front of her, he realised, no, it's okay, I'm still in the lead here. I'm on course to win it. Now we're coming down towards the pipes. You can see the pipes there to finish up in the water. We can get a little close up there. We see Simon going into the pipe here now, and we can see the safety officers there on the side to help out Simon if he should get cramp or anything. He emerges into the water. Now he has to go out into the water, and to the right there you will see barrels that he has to submerge himself to go under. If I was Simon now, I might be tempted to swim a few strokes and make the most of it, or maybe this is a good opportunity for him to have a bit of a break. 4 sets of barrels there, ladies and gentlemen, that he's going to dip his head under. There we go. Simon going under. That's the second set. A deep breath and in under the third set. A little bit of a gap there. And that's the fourth. And now he's going to be heading out of the water again and back onto the course here. You can see the steward in the bib there is waving to Simon to tell him, right, this is where you got to come up to rejoin our course here at Tough Viking, the Nordic Championship 2015. He seems to be struggling a little bit there, Sophie. And we can see Thomas is quite close behind him again there. Thomas is really putting it up to Simon there. Every time we think Simon is getting a little bit of a lead up, Thomas seems to reel him back in there. The question is how quickly Thomas can get out of the water. In this case, is it easier to be leading the pack or is it easier to be chasing?
No, it's easier to be leading a pack. It's like a natural thing we have in our bodies because we are human.
Yeah.
If we're chased, then we'll really feel like we need to go faster.
Yeah, if we're being chased, you think that's the thing. Of course, this is the hunting ground that belongs to the Swedish royal family. At the moment, Simon is the man being hunted by the 150 in the elite who kicked off at 10 o'clock here in sunny, windy Stockholm this morning. He's leading the field, but not by much from Thomas Mikkelsson there. We have 2 winners of races. We had Thomas won the race in Åre this year. Simon won the race in Oslo this year. It's going to be a fascinating finish here. They're about 2/3 of the way through the obstacles, but there's still plenty left to come. We've gone over the balance beams, through the pipes. The slack line is up next. The slack line is basically an exercise in balance.
This is really, I haven't tried this during the Tough Viking yet. It's a new obstacle. It's really about balance.
It's really about balance. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. There's one sort of slack line to have your feet on. Is there another one that you can hold as you make your way along? I think there was yesterday when I saw it yesterday. We're looking down at the slide there that comes up at the end of the course just before they meet the Swedish Coastal Rangers. Nice guys, but like the American footballers, they're there more to shout at you and give you abuse than to help you. If we go back to the slack line again, it's a sort of a balance exercise there. And even if you can't hold yourself with your hands, it's going to be difficult enough to make your way through that. Yeah. Because balance is not just balance. It's not just in the inner ear, but it's also in the legs, the arms, the core.
Lots in the core, really.
It's got to be tough. If we're talking about 2/3
if you've done this part, maybe if you've done some yoga or if you've done some handstand, a lot of gymnastics, then you can really benefit from this. It's a regular exercise within CrossFit. In the gymnastics part.
Okay, and you mentioned yoga there. Of course, yoga is becoming very, very popular because it isn't really explosive. It's not really intensive. But I've certainly heard of a lot of soccer players who use yoga to extend their careers. Is it something you've done a lot of yourself? Or you should have done more of like the cardio.
I so want to say yes, but no, I get so bored. But I know it's good for me. I should do it because I will develop my running and everything, my running skills and so on. Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, they are so strong, yoga yogis.
The yogis are so strong. There you have it. If we go back to talking a little bit about core strength, as we go back to our pictures from the course now, we're into more forest running here. If you go back to core, there's an awful lot of people who believe that core strength is basically sit-ups and nothing more. Are there any other exercises you can recommend that might be sort of easy to do at home?
I'd say everything within Olympic lifting, like deadlifts, back squats, if you do push-ups, if you do, I don't know, muscle-ups, you do your pull-ups, everything is core strength.
Yep. Of course, one of the penalties here is the burpee. Is the burpee a good exercise for core strength?
It depends on how you do it. If you perform it really good, like you're doing a push-up once you go down, but otherwise you just toss yourself to the ground and up again. So I wouldn't say it's the best.
Okay.
Maybe not for core strength, but it's a really good exercise.
So you reckon a lot of people cheat because the push-up part just basically becomes falling on the floor?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So Sophie's now into my method of training here, where every shortcut is possible. What is not possible is shortcuts on the course of Tough Viking 2015. You're watching the Nordic Championship from Gärdet here in Stockholm. Our elite are about 2/3 of the way through the course here. We're expecting about 15 or 20 minutes. They're going to cross the finish line here behind us, go through the 10,000 volts, the electric shock, and indeed the shock of seeing who is the victor, the Nordic champion for 2015. We're going to go back out to the course. You can see the water cannon there. Our eager volunteers are testing them. They're going to enjoy spraying people at the same time as they get electric shocks. And what makes you want to put yourself through this, Sophie, as a competitor?
I have no idea. You're just so mentally and physically tired once you reach the Reebok 10,000 volt that you just do it.
And we're just looking at Simon coming off the slack line now. Hopefully we'll see Thomas a little bit there as well.
He looks really tired now.
Yeah, it's definitely starting to kick in now.
Everything is moving now.
Yeah.
Not so tight anymore.
We mentioned earlier on maybe it's better to burn out than to fade away, but Simon has pretty much led from the first obstacle, if I'm not mistaken, and he's eaten up the course now. But we know that Thomas is there not too far behind him. We're going to go back to the slack line a little bit and talk about that. It seemed to me that you have one for your feet, but the other one is kind of over your head.
Yeah,
that's adding a whole new level of hell,
just
right?
imagine, both are really, nothing is tight, so you just have to try to keep it stable.
Yeah.
While everything is on loose. So
now I'm just thinking as well, they call it the slack line for the reason is because it's not completely straight between the two. When you step on it, it goes down. What part of the foot are you looking to go on your toes, on the balls of your feet there?
I try to be in the middle.
You try to
just
be on the
to get
middle.
Some kind of balance between.
There's that little bit of security
Yeah.
there. And the hands there, is it only for balance or can you help yourself along in any way, would you say?
I think you will have to use your arms also, of course, to get the balance.
But that to me, it seems to be a particularly evil way of just getting you to burn more energy by getting your arms up over your head and pulling yourself as you go along there. No problem to Simon Löfvås start out on the course to burn energy. He is burning it up through the forest here at the moment. He seems to be opening slightly greater gaps as he gets through the running. Seems to be quite a strong runner. Just seeing for the technique here, again you can see that seems to be a sort of an issue with him. The right arm seems to flail just a little bit. Maybe it's not a sign of tiredness after all. Maybe it's more a sign of his running style. As he crosses the road there, we can see the steward in the middle there stopping the traffic. Rock and roll stops the traffic here for the Nordic Tough Viking as he makes his way across there and down the path now. The next, after the slack line, we're looking to see, that's the 22nd obstacle if I'm not mistaken. After this is an absolute killer. We're looking at the Tough Viking dips that are coming after that. You can see, that's about 2/3 point around the course, the Tough Viking dips there. And that's basically where you got to walk. There we go, up he goes. You can see here. It's a tricep exercise all the way through. If he puts his foot down, the penalty starts immediately. He's got to get out of there. He makes it. He's made it to the final step. He just crushed it there. I looked at that yesterday as being the one thing that I absolutely wouldn't. For $1 million, you're not going to get me to do that. Possibly because I have tricep muscles like broken elastic bands, but that's beside the point. Simon appeared to get through that, and that is something that I think is going to trip up more of his opponents, even the elite group, that they're going to slow down a little bit when they come to that. Surely one or two of them are going to put a foot down and enable him to open it. This is slightly more pleasant ground to be running on at the moment. He got a little bit of soft grass there, and now we're coming up another forest trail there again. He has a little bit of a gap now, as you can see there from the map. It's going to go up in a little bit of a hairpin around to the left, and then he comes to the cargo net. Another classic military exercise, 6 meters straight up in the air. What's it like climbing on the cargo net? Is it rough? Is it rope? What's it like?
It's definitely rough. I would say I tried a climbing techniques course at SATS because I just wanted to learn how to do it the best. And if I remember correctly, it was something like doing the rope climb. You really have to, like the worm again, up and down.
So what you do is you sort of compress.
And you use, now I remember. You use the middle part with your hands.
Yes.
And then you go, with your feet.
We can see there.
Very, very well explained.
If we can see, we can see Simon there using the middle part of his hands.
Yeah, exactly, with the middle part, exactly.
So he's not using the horizontal parts like the rungs of a ladder. And how quickly he went down the other side there. Simon wasn't hanging around there. Pretty much just jumped down the other side, took 1 or 2 steps, coming out into the forest now through the long grass as he seeks to find the course again. This can't be easy on the legs there, through that tough long grass there. We can't see anybody within sight of Simon now, but you can be sure that the pack are right there behind him, chasing him as we go along there. I was actually going to ask you about the technique for climbing down, if it was any different. There doesn't seem to be a technique. You just need to hop down the other side and break your fall.
Depends on how high it is, I guess.
The question has to be asked now if anybody is going to be able to catch Simon Löfås as he goes around the course there. We can see again behind us, some guys are 2/3 of the way around the course. We have people stretching, warming up and getting changed into their kit here behind us. They have yet to start. Years from now, 4,000 athletes that will take on the course, but the man who looks likely to be the first to finish it at this point in time on this year, will he be the Nordic champion in tough Viking in obstacle racing this year? It remains to be seen. Hopefully we'll see in about 10, 15, 20 minutes time as he crosses the finish line here behind us. What's it like with this? Have you competed?
I want to say yes here again, but I won't.
It's okay, it's okay.
No, I did not. I did not start in the elite group.
Of course, what we're not seeing so much of here in the elite group is Simon is not taking any help from anybody. He's going all out on his own to fix this course there. He doesn't get a whole lot of help. Is there a great sense of teamwork and camaraderie when you're going around?
Of course. For my sake, I've only been running with friends, and then we are a group of friends. We dress the same, and we have this. Yeah, this is kill it together.
Okay.
No man is left behind.
That's brilliant.
No.
Nobody gets left behind.
No.
Do you get help from strangers as well?
Of course, because I did. They didn't have my pace in running.
Yep.
And you get so cold if you have to stand around and wait. So I just did my own race.
Yep.
And I would never have done it without all the nice people around the course who helped me.
It's an amazing thing, really, because it's still a competitive race. Everybody wants to have the best time possible. They want to go to their friends around the race and say, yeah, well, I did it in an hour and a half or whatever. Help people.
Of course.
There seems to be a great sense of community among people who take part in these things. We can see Simon is still coming out. I think is he coming to the... Yes, here we go. 25 litres or 25 kilogram water that he has to carry around. You can see the tape there. He has to carry it all the way around that particular track. At the moment, carrying in the right hand. I'm sure he's going to change reasonably soon. I wonder if he's going to be able to make it all the way around. That has got to be tough. He's holding it up there. I'm just wondering.
It's called farmer's walk.
Farmer's walk.
In CrossFit language. No, but this is really tough, especially since he can't have something to weigh it up with on the other hand.
Yeah, there's no balance there at all.
No.
As we pull back there, it looks like he's changing to the left hand just as we pulled away there. So we can see. Will we see if Thomas is coming into the picture there? Number 2, there's Thomas coming into the picture there, and he took that at a gallop, and he's putting it up on his shoulder now, and it looks like he's doing it a little bit quicker there. There we have a jogger out this morning as well.
But you can really see how it's such natural movements. I mean, it's carrying stuff.
Yep.
You're carrying your bag, you're carrying your, everything.
Simon basically let it go there. We'll be looking to the stewards to line them up again now for the rest of the field when they come through here. We see Simon disappearing into the forest there. We're going to leave him go there. A little bit of a difference in technique there as well. I've seen people carrying them in different ways. The farmer's walk, as you called it, with one hand and no balance. Is it easier to hold it maybe into the body or put it up on the shoulder there?
No, I think I would do as Thomas, put it up on my shoulder, just because it's easier when you... I mean, since you did the dip walk also, you must be so tired in your arms.
Yeah, there's Thomas there holding it as well.
Yeah.
I'm just
like a baby.
There's 25 kilos of water in there. If the water is sort of sloshing around inside it, it's going to make it even more difficult.
Of course.
Thomas dumps it on the
Again,
ground.
balance and abs.
The balance and abs. Yeah, there's no maps on this course. They just point the direction, and the guys just hit it as quickly as they can. No sign of Constantine. I think Constantine can pretty much, unless something serious happens to the course now, I don't think we're going to be seeing Constantine, the favourite, as the winner here today. It looks like it's between Thomas Mikkelson and Simon Löfås at the moment, but there's an awful lot of obstacles left, including 10,000 volts of electricity as they come to the finish line here in the tough Viking. What have we got left?
Favorite.
You have a favourite there, the
Yeah.
Aqua Royale, 400 metres of swimming. Is that our next? I think that's our next. Yeah, the Aqua Royale is up next. We've had the tanks there. And after that is what is called the Irish Wall. Being from Ireland myself, I'm quite interested in what that is. It seems to be a wall, but there's an overhang there, so you can't get any grip for you. Let me see, if we go back to the Aqua there.
Of course.
We have a couple of pictures here in front of us. The Aqua Royale, 400 metres of, described as 400 metres of swimming, wading, crawling and running. Basically, it's another swamp. You're basically going through water again.
But for longer time this time.
400 metres, almost half a kilometre of that.
Yeah.
It's what, let me see, it's 1/30th of the entire race distance. That's got to be tough.
Yeah, must be so tough.
Again, you loved your breaststroke and the swimming.
Yeah.
Would you be aiming to swim as much of this as
Yeah,
possible?
of course, since this is longer now than ever before.
Yep.
400 meters of just mud everywhere. And you're so tired, and you will get stuck. You will have stuff in your hair. You will have fishes around your feet.
It's,
This one, it will be interesting to see the guys and the girls and how they manage.
How they manage that. It
Yeah.
sounds to me like Sophie is glad to be with us on dry land here in the studio at Tough Viking 2015. You're watching the Nordic Championship. You're all very welcome, whether you're in Norway, Finland, Russia, whether you're watching a competitor there from home. Hello to you all. Or if you're watching around the world and wondering what obstacle racing is, have a look at this. Join your local gym. If you have a SATS close by there, join your local gym. And hopefully we'll see you here next year coming across the finish line here behind us. We're expecting to see the first competitors finish up there in 15 minutes. The Nordic Championship is brought to you by Reebok, presented by Reebok. At the moment, we're about 2/3 of the way around the course. For the real elite, the first group that started at 10 o'clock here this morning, the leaders have gone over 2/3 of the way through the obstacles, and we're looking at some of the toughest now. From what I saw of the course yesterday, we won't be able to get too many pictures from this 400 metres through the water. Maybe we don't want to, but I can promise you very, very dramatic images when they do actually leave the water. Is the swimming that's something people think of, or is that just sort of I can swim? Swimming, of course, part of the school curriculum here in Sweden and the Nordic region. But is it something that gets ignored? And should it be ignored?
No, never. I think swimming, it's getting more and more popular because it's very sensitive to your muscles and it's sensitive to your body. You mean it's no pressure.
Yep.
You're just floating. You know, everyone loves to take a swim. But I guess crawling is really good to know if you're going to do this race.
I'm just wondering, if you do get in here and you start to breaststroke through this 400 metres, it's actually impact on the muscles.
No.
There's the explosivity required for the other obstacles doesn't exist there. Is this actually, and it's a lot cooler in the water obviously than when you're sweating your way around.
Nice now. I mean, it's summer or it's beginning to fall, but it is summer in Sweden.
I think it might be welcome.
It's warmer than the ice bath, so I'd say it's really nice.
Compared to the ice bath, I'd say anything is an improvement. I'm just looking at some of the athletes. So the media starting to arrive here at the Nordic Championship, the Tough Viking Race 2015, presented by Reebok, and they're just changing into some shoes here now. There's a man putting on jogging shoes behind him. I'm wondering how his shoes are going to cope with all this water. There's no sense you can't bring a bag on the course with you. It wouldn't make any sense.
No.
So if you go through the water, you've got to run in whatever shoes that you have with you there. So it's important to have shoes that sort of release the water as you go along there.
Of course. So you're not just because you get so heavy if the shoes doesn't drain water. So.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of squelching your way for a couple of 100 metres to squeeze all the water out. That can't be too pleasant at all as we go along there. We have no pictures from the course out at the moment, but I can tell you we were out on the course. He was leading the race there. Not too far behind was Thomas Mikkel. Simon go through was the dips. I think it was the dips on his way to the Aqua there. So it's going to be tough now the last few. The announcer here behind me encouraging the next group of starters to go down here. If we look at it's an hour. We're expecting the leaders to come in the next 10 or 15 minutes or so. We've had one start group of 150 competitors every 10 minutes since then, and indeed the next start group is off in 9 minutes time. Start groups all the way until 2 o'clock today as we go back to the course. 4,000 athletes in total, and there is your leader. I don't know if that Labrador is taking part. I sincerely doubt it. He doesn't look like he's done his cardio. But Simon Lavos has definitely done his cardio as he runs. And you can see this race is very much in the heart of the city here. You have people out on their Saturday morning walk. You have people out jogging. You have people out even riding horses in this part of the city. And you can see Simon now will be coming around this corner now. He's well into this course now. There isn't too far to go before the last few obstacles. There we can see a jogger out on a Saturday morning. There it is, Simon now. Simon was actually ahead of the field. That was Thomas we were looking at previously. Simon is out ahead of the field now. We've caught up with him. It's some race that he is putting on. If not even our camera team can keep up with him at times. You can see to the side of the road there, the people sort of giving way there for Simon as he comes up there. They see the number on the vest. They know, the local residents know what's going on here. They know that they're watching the Nordic Championship, the Tough Viking, brought to you by Reebok. Our media partner Metro has done a great job in terms of increasing awareness here in the city about what's happening today. Two people on city bikes there. As he comes across the bridge now back towards Yadet from you, Gordon. We're getting close to the end now for Simon. Next up looks to be the Irish wall. It's just down here to his left. Yeah, he's just come across the bridge there after the Aqua, and he should be coming down, if I'm not mistaken. He should be coming down to the Irish wall any second now. And again, there's an overhang on this wall. So you have the wall ahead of you, so your feet are pretty much useless to you. It's very difficult to get any purchase, to get any help up the wall whatsoever. Again, we would be hoping that there's a little bit of soft rubber in his shoes to give him a little bit of a grip here. Beautiful scenes from Stockholm this morning. You can see the water there to the right.
It's so central. That's the most amazing part. This is my regular run every week. Yeah, it is.
We might leave the obstacles there for you, Sophie. I know how much you want to try some of them out there. The ubiquitous Swedish Volvos parked there as well, and some canoes as we go along there. So we'll see. You might get a chance to try this out a little bit later on. Coming through between the buildings there. And if I remember from the drive around that we had yesterday with race director David Clint, that it can't be too far now until he gets to the Irish wall. As I say, the overhang there is the killer, because it pretty much puts everything either on having somebody help you or having the arm strength and the upper body strength, the strength in the shoulders to lift you straight up onto that. Again, if I'm thinking back to what you could do in the SATS gym there, I'm thinking pull-ups might be the one to be working on here.
Yeah, really pull-ups. And if you can do muscle-ups. I'm saying muscle-ups a lot because that's my goal, to really be able to do one muscle-up.
To do one muscle-up?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, in terms of training for these races, would you be looking at using machines, free weights, kettlebells? What would you be concentrating on if you were creating a program for yourself for this race?
Classic Viking workout, I guess. No, but using logs, using outdoor, a lot of since in Stockholm right now we have a lot of outdoor gyms.
That's
and
correct.
Of course using SATS has a lot of great gyms where you can use equipment and really have the obstacle training.
Yep.
So I would combine outdoor training and gym training.
Of course, one of the great things about SATS as well is the experts that they employ, the personal trainers that they employ, and anybody who joins the gym, of course, they'll get an introduction.
Of course.
It's not like you pay your membership and you basically get, go in there and here we go. Here's the Irish wall. Simon is straight up there. He pulled himself up very quickly down the other side. The Turkish pepper Irish wall there. Irish wall and Turkish pepper may seem like a bit of a juxtaposition, but the Turkish pepper, certainly a very refreshing snack there, the old Turkish pepper. The bit of sugar in that might help him as well there. The name Irish wall, I'm not quite sure where it comes from. I'm not sure if it's a play on words, a bit of a pun there. But the Irish wall is built slightly further back. So the roof on it provides a sort of an overhang there. Maybe the overhang is to protect from some typical Irish rain that you can expect in the autumn here as summer turns to autumn in the Swedish capital of Stockholm here. We're now into more trail running there with Simon. Aha, I'm being told here in my earpiece that it's actually the overhang, or the Irish hangover is where that comes from. I knew it was a pun there somewhere.
Very logical.
I'm amazed that I didn't work out that it was related to alcohol there, as many things to do with Ireland are. There are, of course, many other great things to do with Ireland, not least endurance sport. And I know actually later in the day, members of the Stockholm Gaels Gaelic Football Club, of which I'm a member myself, will also be running here. There's a couple of tough Vikings in there. The city of Dublin, of course, founded by the Vikings in 888, Danes, Swedes and Norwegians. We're in the Swedish capital of Stockholm, down by... I think he's headed down towards the Swedish Coast Rangers boat. Basically, he has to swim out to the boat, climb onto it, and then dive back in and come back in before he makes it to the last. Simon is very, very close now, very much in the lead at this point. We can't see Simon in the picture, we can see a jogger. Pictures from the Swedish Coast Rangers boat, attack boat 90, combat boat 90 I believe it is that we have tethered here at the coast in the water this morning. Simon is only moments away now from entering the water, and this is pretty much the last leg of the Tough Viking, the Nordic Championship race presented by Reebok. Simon is out in front here. It's going to take a miracle for anybody to be able to catch him, or some serious mistake by Simon. He hasn't made a mistake all the way round. He's been pretty much error-free the whole way round.
So solid. It's amazing.
He's 1 hour and 7 minutes into his race as he heads down towards the water. He's headed down towards the water now to swim out to combat boat 90. Our cameraman will be joining him any second now. As you can see, some of the 30,000 spectators who are gathering here throughout the day. He's swimming out at the moment on the far side of the boat. There you can see Simon just jumping into the water there. He's swimming out there. He jumps into the water there. He's going to have to swim back. That is a very, very strong cross. Towards the coast now and up towards the 10,000 volts. Simon Löfås. And we see Thomas right behind him. Thomas is only about 10-12 meters behind him in the water. Both of them with very, very strong crawling strokes coming towards the coast there. Our cameraman is moving down to meet them as they come out of the water there. We have, of course, got a camera here at the finish line. It's between Simon and Thomas. It's going to be a sprint to the finish of the the Tough Viking Nordic Championship, brought to you by Reebok. We're watching the boat now as the two guys exit the water. They have to run through 10,000 volts and water cannons as they make their way towards the line. The finish here behind me. It's going to be a very, very tight finish. We thought that Simon had a much greater lead than what he did, but Thomas appeared pretty much out of nowhere to swim out to attack boat, combat boat 90 there, parked right in the water here behind us in the centre of Stockholm. We're going to see the images of them coming out of the water now as they make it up towards. I'm going to have a look around behind me here and see what I can see. The water cannon have started here, so the arrival of the two guys is imminent. We're only talking about the last couple of hundred meters of the 15k here. We see Simon is in the lead as he comes up here towards the finish. We will follow him in. He's climbing up the Luminox vertical water slide, which will fire him back into the water. There he goes, right out into the water for the last time. He has to make his way back up to the water now. You can see him using his hands to propel himself up there. Thomas coming up there as well. There's Thomas coming over now. Simon is in the lead. It's going to take an awful lot for him to catch up. You can see he's tired there. Oof. Out into the water.
Another technique.
A very good technique there. He's sort of slid out right to the edge of the water. What can he be? 15-20 meters behind at this point in time. Splashing our camera there. He's making his way behind Simon up towards. There we see the finish line. At any second now we will see Simon coming through the wires that are hanging down here. The Reebok 10,000 volts. You can see the water cannon and the hay bales there. There is no getting away from it, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to get a couple of shocks as you come through here, sending a tingle through the nervous system, which is probably the last thing you want after 15 kilometers and 29 obstacles. But this is obstacle racing. This is what they trained for. This is what they prepared for. And any second now, Simon Löfås is expected to come through that curtain of electricity. Here he comes. Simon is in the lead. He knows he's on number 4, Simon Löfås. There he goes through it. Your Nordic champion 2015, Simon Löfås, has won the Tough Viking. 15 kilometers. He's there, he's done, and we're going to bring him up here and talk to him as soon as possible. Right behind it there, the second favourite, Thomas Mikkelsen, is coming through. He runs through there, the electric shocks the whole lot, the water cannon firing at him. I can tell you that Sophie here is shivering at the thought of the electric shocks coming through there. We're going to try to grab the winner as soon as we can and bring him up to our commentary position here so that we can have a chat with him. We're also going to keep an eye out for Maria Velin. Maria, of course, was the favourite in the women's elite class. We haven't seen too much of her around the course, but we're hoping to catch up with her as she makes it in towards the end there. The time that I'm counting here, Simon's time looked to be about 1 hour and 10 minutes. So that's 15 kilometers in 1 hour and 10 minutes.
It's amazing with all these obstacles.
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, incredible.
But we have to give it to Simon. It looked like pretty much technical perfection all the way around.
Yeah. He didn't even seem like nothing has happened to him. He just did it. No worries.
If we look back to the Intersport rope climb, the more technical events, it just seemed to patrol his way through it.
Yeah, he just brushed it off.
Brushed it off there. It's incredible. We're looking forward to speaking to Simon very, very soon. I'm looking behind me here to see if we can find out where he went there. We might send one of our producers down to see if we can grab him for a little chat here, so you, the viewers at home, can talk to the Tough Viking 2015 Nordic champion, presented to you by Reebok. The Reebok 10,000 volts. It was interesting to see you actually sort of you were doing this at the end there, you know. So does the water make a difference as well when they're spraying you?
Of course, you can't see anything, and you know the electricity goes easier through your body if you are wet. So you just want to everything inside of there.
We have some evil geniuses here as course designers, and of course they're working on next year's course already. And indeed there are other races coming up. I think there's one in Finland coming up in the very near future, and one in Malmö. We can see some more of the competitors jumping into the water there, and you can see how they climb up the ladders now very shortly.
If there are coastal rangers there, I think I would stay there a while.
Yeah, you're probably as well off.
But no one is.
Good military men there standing, and of course they're keeping an eye on. And amazingly, I'm looking behind me to see people warming up who haven't taken part just yet, but they're watching the finishers coming in here. There's some teams here. I'm seeing the Beckstrom team here behind me who are preparing for their day at the Tough Viking. Of course, this is not just about the elite, ladies and gentlemen. 150 of them started at 10 o'clock this morning, but we have 4,000 athletes all manner of athletes who are joining in here, all aiming to be Tough Vikings by crossing the finish line here behind me. We are still waiting for the winner, Simon Löfos, to join us here as we look at some of the elite athletes who are swimming away from Combat Boat 90 there. They're swimming back into the course there and making their way to the Luminux water slide, which is the second last of the obstacles that they face here. 30 obstacles in total around the 15-kilometer course here. And you can see it's a lovely day for the spectators. Despite it being a little bit breezy, the sun is shining here in the Swedish capital. It's a wonderful day out right in the heart of the city. So if you're watching this and you're anywhere near Stockholm, I suggest you get down here and join us. We're going to be here until about 4 or 5 o'clock today watching the competitors coming in. We'll have a camera, even when this broadcast is over, we'll have a camera on the finish line, so that if you do stay at home, you'll be able to watch your nearest and dearest as they cross the line and declare themselves Tough Vikings for 2015. I wonder where Simon has got to. I would imagine there's some serious nutrition being taken on board there. Probably a bit of water. What would you prefer at the end of this race? Would you prefer straight water, or is there some...
Yeah, water.
Water.
Just calm down, then eat something. You're not so hungry once you cross the finish line.
When you put
you're
it
just
all in there.
you're so high on your adrenaline, and everything feels like it's just tremendous. I don't know.
There's a tremendous kick at the end of it, so I don't suppose adding sugar is going to be used. And I think there we're looking at number 27. Is that Marcus Hallbeck again, who's just going down the water slide there? You can see the elite athletes now. Some people will get on the slide here and they kind of enjoy sort of shooting out into the water. But of course, the further you shoot out, the further you have to come back. So the elite athletes there, we see Konstantin there coming in a little bit behind. Konstantin slowing himself down there deliberately so that he has a shorter distance to run through the water coming back up. Konstantin was one of the favourites here, a previous winner of obstacle races here in Scandinavia. Today has not been his day, unfortunately, but he's still there among the top 10, 15 finishers. And maybe we'll get a word reasonably soon. Again, we're still waiting to talk to the top Tough Viking, the Nordic champion, presented to you by Reebok, Simon Löfos. We'll get him up here as soon as we can. Of course, he will need to take a couple of deep breaths beforehand after this, but we will certainly be getting his feelings. There's a man who enjoyed his ride out into the water. We'll be getting Simon's feelings and a little bit more about how he managed the course there. Number 47, Martin Lindskog there, coming down the slide. Again, a very conservative approach there. It's the end of the summer holidays. It might be the last time we have a swim here in the 13-degree water in Stockholm.
Absolutely.
But I have to say, I'm very, very impressed by the competitors who are coming in. They're still very, very controlled. They don't look too tired, despite the fact that they have 15 kilometres and one of the toughest courses in obstacle racing behind them. We mentioned the race earlier on this year at Hagaparken. That was only 8 kilometres, so 15 kilometres, almost double that distance. And I'm imagining that if you have only 8 kilometres, you probably don't have as many obstacles either, Sophie, no?
No. In Hagaparken, it's a lot more hills, I'd say.
A lot more hills?
Yeah, a lot more hills, upside down.
So the running part is an awful lot tougher then?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, we have the winner. We have Simon Löfos. We're going to bring him around here. Sophie, we're going to ask you to hand over the headset for a moment. That's great. We'll put the headset.
Hi.
Simon,
Ja.
Congratulations.
Tusen tack.
Tusen tack. Simon, of course, is from Norway, so if we could conduct the interview in English or Norwegian?
English is fine.
English is fine.
No problem.
Tell me, how does it feel to be the tough Viking Nordic champion?
It feels great. What else can I say? I mean, it's amazing. It was a really fun track, so it's just a good feeling. I've been rushing through the course now, so it's difficult to really think about what happened. I'm still in the racing mode, so yeah. I mean, with time, it's gonna maybe feel even better.
The fact that you're still in the racing mode is great for our viewers who are watching this, right? Tell me, you led pretty much from start to finish. How did you manage to stay ahead of the field the whole time?
Well, it's I mean, that's basically a little bit of luck, because my competitors were not trying to go ahead, but I mean, my focus is just on myself. I'm not running with a watch, I'm not running looking behind me, because I'm not gonna think too much about my competitors. So I'm just in the racing mode, trying to do the best for myself to actually finish the race in the perfect phase, and I think I did quite well with that. So
we were saying
I'm happy.
So here in the commentary position, we were saying that you looked sort of technically. If we could actually just take a step in there, you're racing to be technically perfect. Did you have any penalties at all on the course? We don't think you had any penalties. No push-ups, no burpees.
No.
And tell me a little bit about some of the techniques you used when you were going through the monkey bars there. You should have very, very straight shoulders. Is this something you practiced for this race?
No, not really. I'm into climbing, rock climbing.
Yep.
So I've just done a lot of pull-ups in my time, and also in the gym, and of course I practice some.
Yep.
But it's not something it's not where I get the second, where I actually win. It's more running. It's more the overall. The overall. What should I say? Feeling
package. The
package.
That paid up. Sophie mentioned as well that do your cardio was her advice to anybody taking part in this race. Did you do a lot of cardio work, a lot of running, a lot of swimming?
Yeah, I do. I should do some commercial for this running club.
Yep.
It's the running club for the University of Oslo. So I'm in OSI Friidrett. So I do basically my what I enjoy the most is obstacle racing, but I also do some normal racing, and well, I do a lot of sports in general, so that's where
I'm sure your club mates in Oslo will be very proud of you, as will all of Norway today when you're the Nordic champion. Can I ask you finally, what's next for you? You're now the Nordic champion, you're the toughest Viking of them all. What mountains are there left to climb for you?
A lot of mountains, because that's what I love doing. That's really my passion, it's mountains. So, too many, but I would like to go racing international, more of that now here in Sweden. It's my first time abroad racing. I need a sponsor, because it costs a lot of money traveling around the world, so if I get a sponsor, then I'll be out in the States, UK, I don't know.
I think your performance here today might have opened a lot of eyes to your performance, so I hope sponsors do contact you. Finally, how are you going to celebrate this victory?
I'm going to celebrate with my girlfriend. She's here waiting for me.
I can see her right here.
I've been pushing her around in a wheelchair the last weeks, and so that's also great practicing for this race.
Do your cardio. It doesn't matter how you get it done, Sophie. You do your cardio. Will you be going for a few beers here in Stockholm this evening?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It's a lot cheaper than Oslo.
Yeah.
Simon, Nordic Viking, the toughest of them all. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for talking to me. You can hand the headset to me there.
Yes.
That's great. The toughest Viking of them all, and if you're watching in Oslo, you have an athlete there that you can be very, very proud of. We have a lot of sponsors here. I'm sure many of them will want to speak to Simon a little bit later on. He seems very happy with himself, Sophie.
I think so.
And he has every right to be.
And he was promoting his running club. I'm so proud.
Well, it's great to see that there is that sort of amateur ethos in one way, you know, that people do, and of course they do need sponsorship to do these things. But let's remember that nobody here is being paid to run. All these guys are taking on this 15-kilometer course. They're taking on these 30 obstacles solely for the love of it and for the challenge of doing it. When it comes to financing a career, is it possible to be a professional in obstacle racing just yet, or do you see that something happening in the future?
I think you have to rely on something else, but absolutely, I think in the future, if this grows bigger, and it is, absolutely, why not? I mean, Reebok is the main sponsor here, so why not just single athletes?
Yes, I have to say it's with great gratitude that we have so many fantastic sponsors here today. And indeed, if you are down here in Stockholm, you'll see the list of them here behind. I can see Intersport from here. I can see the Turkish Pepper have their tent. You have Red Bull, you have Frush. We've mentioned the likes of Mini and the likes of Luminox, who sponsored some of the obstacles here. And we are very, very grateful for their participation. As you look out at the pictures, Mother Nature was the one who brought you this particular obstacle, and we're very, very grateful to her too. But it is indeed the sponsors who help us to keep this wonderful sport growing at the amazing pace that it is. That's some tough swimming being done there. They're just coming off Combat Boat 90 here, and here they're coming up on the Luminox water slide. We're probably still looking at the elite field here, who started an hour and 21 minutes ago. And we can see them sliding into the water there. Again, the tactic seems to be, if you take the right hand side of that slide there, you're going to have a shorter run in. Let me see where we are there. Yeah, that's just as they're coming up out of the water there. We're panning back a little bit there to see. And then the last few steps before the lovable electric shocks that are up there. Next time actually, we're going to have to interview the course designer who came up with these absolutely nefarious, totally evil plans. I got to say, I love those guys and girls who have done that. Once again, we are looking at the finish line. We're going to have this camera here all day. So pretty much until 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you are going to be able to see your nearest and dearest as they cross the line. Remember, what we've been watching is the elite, but there are around 4,000 athletes who are going to take part here today. And I suggest that you have this on in the background if you're sitting at home watching. Watch your neighbours, watch your friends, watch your club mates from your local soccer club or whatever happens to be as they perform this. It's a massive, massive feat. Do not underestimate the power and the mental strength that it takes to get around this course and give them your support. Sophie, do you have any friends or family running here today?
Yeah, I have some friends running, of course, and no family, because I'm practically the only one who works out in my family. But as you mentioned, really come down and cheer these amazing people who runs, because it really helps a lot to have, you know, the cheering and the high fives, and yeah.
Yeah, one of the things that you can't hear in our microphones here for the commentary position is we can actually hear the applause and the cheers in the background as they make their way towards the Reebok 10,000 volts there. There we can see that's one of our competitors there. Everybody, of course, who finishes gets a medal declaring their status as a tough Viking, having completed the race. But the cheers really, really do help. When you have people encouraging you, anybody who's ever run a 10K or a half marathon, the cheers of the crowd there towards the end kind of spark off the adrenaline kick. Right now we're looking at pictures from Combat Boat 90. We're looking at the Swedish coastal rangers there, who are keeping a watchful eye over our competitors. They have to swim out to the boat, climb up the ladder, and then jump back into the water. There are no fancy dives here, no Greg Louganis. It's just get in the water and get over there as quickly as you can. We can see some using the crawl stroke there to make their way as quickly as possible. Others are basically using the very last their energy reserves. I see one man there getting his feet under him as quickly as possible. Here's a guy who's going to be looking for a nice armchair and a cold beer by the time he's finished. Or a cold fruit is probably the best way to celebrate this. Get a bit of sugar there, get a bit of carbs in there as he comes up out of the water. The 10,000 volts must give you a little bit of life back in you as well there.
Oh yeah,
puts a smile back on your face before. And we can see the water kind of there as well, just to make sure. That is just cruel. And we have a man falling over. Was that Constantine falling over the line there? No, that was number 3. That was Patrik Edlund who just fell over the line there. Another tough Viking.
But he looks happy.
I'm sure he is, and he has every right to be happy, having covered this 15-kilometer course in an hour and 24 minutes approximately. That is not bad going at all. Quite a fast time. It's going to be interesting to talk to some of the athletes a little bit later on and to see what it was that made or indeed broke that. Stumbled just at the finish line there, but that's not going to stop him. He's coming over there. Who's that? Was that number 36, I see? If it was number 36, it's Andrew McLean. That's like the British or English or Scottish or Irish sounding name there. Definitely very Scottish there. Number 14 coming through there is Fredrik Janse. There's Fredrik, and Fredrik will be given his medal pretty much straight away there. So the declaration of being a tough Viking. I would imagine if you're out on Instagram or on Facebook or Twitter, especially on Instagram, I suggest you do a little search if you're sitting at home there and search the Tough Viking hashtag today. You might want to go in and give those pictures a like, because there's plenty of people who will be proudly displaying their medals from this year's Tough Viking. There we go, another one down into the water there. We're seeing a wide variety of different costumes. There's a man wearing undershorts, some people going for the longer trousers, some people going for different kinds of shoes. I know that with the CrossFit range from Reebok, we had Mads Jakobsen here earlier on. Go into Reebok.com. You'll find, not just for CrossFit, but for every type of sporting endeavour, you will find equipment to suit. Number 35 there, climbing up out of the water, that was Robert Svensk. I wonder where he comes from. This is a gentleman who looks not unlike Guillermo Molins, the soccer player, but I don't think it's Guillermo. He has a match tomorrow, so he probably won't be indulging in a race today. that last climb up there is pretty tough. We haven't seen our female competitor. We were looking to see if Maria Velin was anywhere in the field there. We haven't managed to find her yet, and maybe we won't. That would be a little bit unfortunate. Is that her there? Just look and say that is indeed Maria Velin who's coming in there. Excellent. Maria looks to have had a couple of tears on the back of her training kit there. I'm wondering if that didn't come from the barbed wire there a little bit earlier on there. We're going to do our best to talk to Maria. Maria looks to be the very first female competitor here. Certainly she was the favourite going into it there. So we're going to look and see if we can talk to Maria whilst we're still broadcasting live here from Gärdet in the heart of the Swedish capital of Stockholm. That's going to be great fun right at the end there. That water slide's
really.
going to be...
I really need to hear all her tricks. Please ask her.
Yeah, we'll be able to give the girls...
for this?
Yeah, the girls and the guys will definitely get a few tips there. There seems to be a canoe there that the guys have to swim under as they're entering, or as they reach combat boat 90 there. There's some tired steps going up those ladders there. And of course the rangers are there to help them out. There's a man there with the leg supports, keeping the calves warm and supported and compressed. And it really is a struggle. We can see the interesting thing there as well is the longer the race goes on, the likes of those obstacles, they actually get wet from people climbing up on them as well,
of course.
which makes it more slippery for the non-elite athlete, if you like, as they come up to it.
Yeah.
There we go, another finisher coming through there. I love the idea that you have all these cables. There are 10,000 cables, there are 10,000 volts, and they're hanging down. And as people run through, pretty much the way Sophie did, so holding her elbows there, it looks like they're trying to avoid it. There is no avoiding it, ladies and gentlemen. The last thing you're getting here, or the second last thing you're getting, the first thing you're getting is electrocuted, and the last thing you're getting here is the medal that you get for... We have Maria Velin. She has passed the finish line as far as we know up here in the commentary position. She is the first woman to do so. So she is the winner of the women's class in the Nordic Championship, the Tough Viking.
Amazing.
Brought to you by Reebok. Number 8 there. Can we see who number 8 is in the women's classification? We don't actually have that list with us at the moment, but you can see a very controlled breaststroke there coming in. So the women's elite is starting to catch up now. A few minutes behind the men, but a fantastic performance all the same. Be interested to talk to Maria to see how the course management went for her part then, and indeed the training that she indulged in to get here. Just we have a slip rock now for the Reebok 10,000 volts. It has been an incredible experience to be out here in the Swedish capital this morning and to see this race. As I say, very, very windy conditions. There's a man who has not only lost his vest number, he appears to have lost his vest as well. If I had abs like that, it might be the first thing to disappear.
And he did a dive instead.
I like that. And indeed, we had a bit of a butterfly stroke as well there. So there we have a man who has plenty of energy left. We're going to see if the team can bring Maria Velin up here for a little chat with her whilst we're still broadcasting live here from the city centre in Stockholm. It's 11:30 here, Central European time. An hour and 30 minutes have passed since our first athletes hit the course. We've had 150 athletes every 10 minutes ever since. They're kind of corralled here at the starting gate. If we go back over, if you're just joining us, we have 30 obstacles in total. They start out with pain. They hit a bunch of American footballers who basically beat the living daylights out of them for the first 20 or 30 metres or so. The red bed over and under. They move on then through 1,000 tyres. Onto the fire, which is brought to you by Mini, running through burning bales of hay. We're also still waiting for Maria Velin, if we can find her. It would be interesting to talk to our women's winner. We think that she won the women's class there as well. We believe that she was the first woman to cross the finish line here, and that she is therefore the Nordic champion in the women's class in the Tough Viking here today. We have medals still being handed out here. I can see other competitors still crossing the line. I can see there that Magnus Markland actually walked across the finish line himself there, so there's no need to be worried about Magnus, but you can see there's total exhaustion down there somewhere.
But still you see happiness.
There's still joy down there,
That's the part of this, that you're exhausted, but you're extremely happy.
Yeah, we have a close-up there now. You can see swaying in the breeze there, 10,000 wires with 10,000 volts. We have a couple of people avoiding it. You can see a big
she's
smile
laughing.
there.
It's like, what did I just do?
There's one competitor there just skipping through the hay bales. I think number 31 there, we were looking at Gustav Helgesson, who's passing through there. Gustav did the leading loppet in 2 hours and 30 minutes, and I think he also, where did he come? He took part in the race in, was it Gärdet? He came 13th there one year, so another member of the elite making it through there. Number 15 there, crossing the finish line, that was Johan Sjölin.
And he got a hug.
He got a hug there at the end. Johan has also taken part in the Hagaparken and Gothenburg races. So experienced runner. And, quite an impressive beard as well. I'd imagine having electric shocks or 10,000 volts going through there is not too much fun.
He is already a Viking.
Yeah, he pretty much looks the part already. Interestingly enough, I think the TV show Vikings is actually filmed in Ireland, which is we could use a couple of these guys. Maybe Johan might be one of them that we might export as an extra. Getting the vest off there.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're warm from the electric shocks or cold from the water cannon there at that point in time.
They just need to get their clothes off as soon as possible so they don't get sick, like a cold or something.
Of course, yeah, but of course you don't want to cool down too quickly either.
No,
so.
of course not. You need to stretch and just calm down and then change your clothes.
Yeah, the stretching, of course, is the preparation and indeed what comes afterwards then. How are these guys and girls going to feel tomorrow?
Sored, extremely sored, but I think we will have a lot of yeah, and they will be tired and sore.
And in terms of the recovery from this, what do you want to be eating? I mean, is it a good idea to be a couch potato tomorrow, the 2 pizzas we talked about earlier, or should they be looking at their diet already and looking to the next race pretty much from now?
I can only speak for myself.
That's
but
a good place to start.
Yeah, and after a race like this, I would have a lot to eat, a lot to drink, meet up with friends, and just enjoy.
Just relax.
Yeah,
and
relax and enjoy, and of course do maybe some kind of rehab if you are sore. I mean, stretching, start a nice walk tomorrow maybe just to move your body.
Yep.
But then once you're feeling better, just hop on it again.
Just go again. And of course, unfortunately, it's always the case with these extreme races that for various reasons, maybe you mightn't have the energy, maybe you might sustain an injury, that they don't actually make it to the finish line. And there's no less respect for the athletes. Any athlete that goes up there and makes it through, the American footballers, has my lifetime respect. But if they don't make it through there, the best thing to do is to start all over again, to get back out on the training field, to get back down to sats, get lifting the weights, get out on the road, get into the forest and get running, and to start to prepare for next year's race again. There's no such thing as failure, but just don't give up whatever you do.
No, never give up.
Still waiting for Maria Velin here. Hopefully she'll be up with us very, very shortly. We can see plenty of spectators here. There are prams and buggies with small children coming around the place. They're visiting our sponsors' tent here. There's a Reebok and Intersport shop here behind us. So if anybody is in the Stockholm area and interested in the kit, the equipment that you might need to run this race next year, if you've been inspired by seeing one of those people you've seen here this morning, get down here. There's a lot of expert help on show and that kind of thing. Sophie, you've mentioned that you would look forward to maybe running this race again. I'm going to put you on the spot here. Are you going to run the race next year?
Of course.
There you go.
Of course I will.
Next year, that's what we're going to do.
I thought you were going to say today.
No.
That's a whole different story.
No, today you've had, I mean, it's been enough of an obstacle standing here talking to me all day.
Yeah.
But next year we're going to stick an action.
And I just said yes.
That's no problem.
I'm enjoying, I promise.
Indeed, that was my 10,000 volts I just got there of Sophie. Next year we might put an action camera on you and see what we can get from out in the field there. So we'll see what happens. We're still watching. You can see the water cannon there. You see, there's no getting under it. This guy thinks that you can get away from the... Now he's just getting electrocuted for the sake of it.
You just need to decide. It's going to hurt. It's going to be painful. Just stand up and do it.
It's pretty much like the whole course. It's going to
crawl.
hurt. It's going to be painful.
Oh, he's trying. Okay. Like a lizard.
Yeah, it's pretty wet out there. He's trying to avoid it. He's trying to sneak out the side there.
Oh.
You're not allowed to go outside the tape.
It's okay. He tried.
Yeah, well, at least he made it to start. I think that might well make it past the judges there.
Yeah.
We might have to turn a blind eye to that one. They got to go through some part of it. 10,000 cables hanging down. Yeah, he looks pretty tired there.
Oh.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of sympathy there as well. But I think when they do have a chance to get something to eat and to get some fluids on board there, you can actually see the sole of the shoe there. You can see the studs we were talking about for trail running earlier on there. That gentleman has made his choice. Again, I've seen all sorts of things behind us here as people got changed. You got people with regular jogging shoes and then people with trail running shoes and that kind of thing.
If you're not running today, I could recommend, because Reebok has put up a wall that is 3.3 meters high.
Okay.
That you can try and do some jumping.
You pretty much you run up or jump or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's,
yeah, in the sponsor area, right outside.
In the sponsor area, right outside. So if we do have spectators coming down, not only will you see some of the greatest athletes and some of the greatest effort being put into a race that you will see in Stockholm this year, you can also have a word with our sponsors, see some of the equipment that it's on offer, and indeed try it out and see if this is something for you. I'm not sure exactly when you can start registering for next year's race or for the next race, but I do know that the price tends to start out at around about 500-600 Swedish crowns, which is about 75 euros. But the closer it gets to the race, the more the price goes up. So it's a good idea to get in, to register for the race as soon as possible, to talk to somebody like Sophie, to go to a local gym like Sats and talk to the experts there, to go and check out the equipment that you're going to need and start to prepare earlier. Our expert Sophie Bellas here was saying 6 months at least beforehand, but she would start a year before, which means you're starting training tomorrow. If
Exactly, I'm training right now.
All this standing up here, of course. No, we're not going to claim that we have done anything out of the ordinary here today. We have tremendous respect for these athletes. Again, we see a man going down the water slide there.
I'd say it's a lifestyle.
It's very much a lifestyle right enough, and it seems to be something that more and more people are embracing. CrossFit, there's been explosive growth in CrossFit and indeed in obstacle racing here in the Nordic region. I think we've had some 15,000 runners in total in the Nordic region, so between Oslo, there are races coming up in Gothenburg, and there was a race in Gothenburg, there's been a race in Oslo, there's one coming up in Finland and one in Malmö as well as the Nordic Championship here brought to you by Reebok, which is taking place in Gärdet here today. That looks tough. That guy just sprinted through there. That seems to be the tactics. Just get through it, stay on your feet. Number 38 there coming in. We looked at Erik Steen there. It was just coming through there. Still looking at the elite group coming in there.
It's helping to, actually it helped me to scream just right out.
You screamed all the way. We have Maria Velin. Maria, can you join us here? If you could just take 10 seconds. The winner, the Nordic Viking, our Nordic champion for 20. Step up there, please. You okay? That's good. We'll just put the headset on you there.
Yeah, okay.
Now, if you just, we have a lovely picture of you there. Maria, how does it feel?
Oh, it feels great. Actually, it does.
How tough was it out there today?
To be honest, physically, I think it's very tough, but mentally, not that tough because you're so focused the whole time, and it never gets bored. I mean, it's always changing, like the terrain and obstacles are coming, and so.
How well did you know the obstacles before you started?
Today I didn't actually take a look at the course at all.
Okay.
So, but I knew some of the obstacles since a few races before, and well, I was familiar with them.
Yeah. Was there anything that surprised you on the course today?
No, not really.
Not really?
Not really.
You were well prepared for.
Yeah.
What was the hardest part of the race?
The hardest is always the rampage.
Getting up the ramp there, yeah? What was it, 5.4 meters high? Did you get up there first time, or did you have to take...
No, I took the penalty.
You took the penalty there. What was that, 30 burpees?
Yeah.
And how did you find that slowed you down?
Actually, I think it's just a little bit, but it makes you to get some to calm down a little bit.
Okay,
and get a grip of the whole situation.
You got a little bit of a grip there, yeah. And tell us about the Reebok 10,000 volts here as the very, very last obstacle. How's that? Is that nasty?
Always nasty. Always totally blasting out everything. I don't know. I need to start screaming at myself.
Yeah. Just
500 meters before,
just to have the motivation to take yourself the last step there.
Yeah.
Can I ask you, how are you going to celebrate tonight?
With my kids.
With your kids? Will there be, we have a thing in Swedish, well, it's Saturday today, of course, so you have Saturday sweets, lördagsgodis, and that kind of thing?
No, I'm not really fond of that.
Not a candy eater, no?
No, maybe I'll have a glass of wine, maybe.
A glass of wine on a Saturday, that's not too bad. And finally, if I could ask, what's next on the calendar? Are there any more mountains for you to climb? What's the next challenge you'd like to take?
The next biggest challenge will be the Spartan World Championship.
The Spartan, and where is that taking place?
It's taking place in Lake Tahoe in the US.
In the US, and when is that going down?
3rd of October.
The 3rd of October. And tell us, how quickly will you recover from this race?
Give me 20 hours.
20 hours.
Yeah.
And you'll be back on the training again. Gym and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
We wish you the very best of luck in that next race, and we thank you very much indeed. The Nordic champion, the toughest Viking of them all, the women's class, Maria Velin, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take the headset from you again. You can jump off and grab a bite to eat and a bit of a shower. And we'll bring in Sophie. Big hug from Sophie. There you go. Great sense of camaraderie here. We're just getting an update there from down by the water. As you may have seen, we had some images a little bit earlier on there. We had one athlete who was struggling in the water. He's actually conscious again now, so he's not too bad. But we're bringing the ambulance anyway, just in case, to make sure that he's 100%, that he's okay. So the best of medical treatment here, and the best security and safety arrangements that we could possibly have here at Tough Viking, brought to you by by Reebok. Sophie, we're going to start rounding off here. We're going to start summing up. This has been some day of obstacles.
Yeah, really amazing. And I just have to say, Maria, smell. I need that perfume. Swampy.
There's like swamp and sweat and
yeah,
victory and all these great things in there.
Yeah, victory perfume.
Are you jealous?
A bit.
A little bit?
I really miss that smell.
You really miss that?
Yeah, I'm going down now to just have some,
grab
some mud on my.
Okay, it's
my
going to be
throat.
very, very hard when you've been speaking to thousands of people around the world and 30,000 spectators here. Okay, if she does tell you that she took part in the race, she didn't. She's been with me here all morning as we watched the elite in the Nordic Championship. Tough Viking brought to you by Reebok. Some wonderful images you can see there. Some of these people that we're looking at here around the sponsor tents, they haven't actually started yet. So they're just getting ready for their race. As we turn the camera back on those who are coming to the end of theirs, through the Reebok 10,000 volts, through the water cannon, we can see them coming up now. More and more female competitors start. They're running through there. As Maria said, they just start to scream before they go in there as they get a series of small electric shocks. Look at that for camaraderie. Look at that for teamwork. That's the Olympic spirit right there. As they come towards the end of the race, 15 kilometers through the hardest, helping one another through it. This is sport of the highest order. This is true Olympic spirit. Yeah, the finish line camera there is going to be, we're basically going to have this fixed on the finish line all day from now until about 4 or 5 o'clock. So you can keep watching this broadcast, you can keep watching these fantastic athletes. It's on a separate broadcast. We're going to see if we can come up with a link for you to watch the finish line camera for the rest of the day. If you look at toughviking.se, you're going to be able to follow this camera all the way through. You'll get to see the final glorious moments of the 4,000 competitors as they make it to the end of this course. Remember, what you're watching here is that we've seen the elite athletes, but there are 4,000 competitors traveling over 15 kilometers, 30 obstacles that finish up with 10,000 volts of electric shocks and water cannon and everything else. But if you want to do it, that's what it takes to be a tough Viking in 2015. I think we're pretty much done from the live end of things here today. I'd like to thank Sophie Bellis. I'd like to thank Simon and Maria, our winners. We've had a fantastic day here. If you've been inspired by what you see here, come down if you're in Stockholm. If not, visit toughviking.se. Watch the rest of these competitors, and hopefully we'll see you here next year as you become a tough Viking in 2016. Thank you, and have a great day.
Thank you.